Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, the audience discretion is advised.
Welcome again to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture.
It's 3 weeks in a row. We got it right, gentlemen.
Wow.
Good job.
You really surprised me by that energy.
You're very enthusiastic.
He's
about
been
this.
saving
You
up.
have some crack before.
I know. I've been listening to the episodes, and the NPR aesthetic is starting to get like a little old. So I decided to punch it in.
Oh, we've never met a bit that we won't beat to death.
See Kevin Gallo.
Yes, Kevin, tell us about those.
Oh,
He did. More on that later.
Who else is on this show?
It's me. It's Ethan.
I'm Brady.
First one of the night. Are you stroking?
No, I thought I had a joke and then I didn't.
Okay, there you go. My name is James McCarthy.
Well, I was grasping for a joke and it eluded me.
Yeah, it was it disappeared into the fog, much like South Mississippi has done this week.
Yes,
You snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yes.
Ethan, what have you been up to?
Oh boy.
Are you stroking?
Possibly.
That's
he
two.
might have a reason to, but we probably won't get into that.
We're definitely not this week. So
Yeah.
we're saving that for when we have no content.
Oh,
So,
Why are you staring at me like that? That was
Again,
weird.
I thought I had a joke and it didn't come.
God damn it!
you're just running out of jokes, aren't you?
I'll find some.
He will. I believe in him. We believe in you, Brady.
Just say something. I'm certain something will. You're my muse, Ethan. So give me.
Let me be.
You're the one.
No.
So
Okay, no. Now the champagne's broken.
No.
So someone either loves
Thought
Ethan.
we weren't gonna do this,
No.
but-
You broke. We've broken the champagne.
I didn't say anything.
I did, and now people are gonna be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
You gave him a whisper
leave
of
them
hope.
in suspense.
Okay,
Like,
so
they'll have to tune in to next week.
yeah, so welcome to a new segment called Ethan's Love Follies. So we're watching AEW like we do every Wednesday before we start recording, and then one of us goes out. I won't say who.
I went outside to smoke a cigarette.
Jody went outside to smoke a cigarette. Standard operating procedure for one Jody kite. And then he looked over, and on the windowsill at the studio there was a book. And what is the name of that book?
it says, "I love you, Ethan."
Okay.
I don't want it.
Someone.
I don't want to.
I don't want to. Okay,
I don't blame you.
And it was weird, and it was filled with chock full of quotes about someone who loves Ethan, and we're not sure if it's a secret admirer or a stalker. So either you have
Porque no los dos.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, let me add to the immersion.
Sure.
I'm leaving for work about 2 weeks ago, and I look behind me and make sure I'm not hitting a trash can or a stray cat. And I see on my passenger window.
It can only be those two things: a trash can or a stray
Yeah.
cat.
If you're just walking by the street by his house, you're fucked. He don't care.
I see my back passenger window, like it's been foggy, and someone's written "I love you" on my window. I'm like, oh, that's sweet. Bianca left me a message,
But she didn't.
And then a week later, I asked Bianca, "Did you write 'I love you' on my window?" She's like, "I never did that. I just tell you." I'm like,
Yeah.
huh, interesting.
Somebody's playing the long game.
What's scarier about this? The fact that someone's it may be your secret admirer, or that Bianca doesn't care. What's
I
worse?
think he's used to that.
It might just be a mixture of both.
Oh my
I would like
God.
to emphasize for our listeners the disturbing nature of this book. See, it's not just a regular book; it's a children's book, like one of those little small books that has like 20
You buy them
pages
at
to
like
it,
Barnes and
with
Noble.
little bunnies on the front
It's
of
meant
it.
for like grandparents buying their
and like
grandchild.
things were scratched out. So just to kind of, Ethan is the protagonist of a psychological thriller now. So So we'll keep you updated
outside.
if anything terrible happens to him.
If there's an episode and I'm just not here, you'll know the reason why.
So look forward to the Ethan tribute episode coming.
You better hope that the director of this is David Fincher, not Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
Because
And for the 4 people who understood that reference, you're welcome.
Yeah, most of us in the
Or
room.
whoever directed Deep Water, a movie from last year, from this previous year, where I'm not gonna. It's the sad Ben Affleck movie.
Besides,
not that one, the other one.
besides
The accountant.
besides disturbing artifacts of a murder that has not happened yet, Ethan, what have you been up to?
Honestly, nothing until tonight. Like I've been watching a couple of movies and doing work. And
Fair.
That's it.
Fair. That's
What
fair.
was
You've got a
the
lot.
movie? Hang on. No, what was the movie you watched before you watched the subject movie for tonight?
Bianca wanted to watch The Sea Beast on Netflix. It's I
They write themselves.
Whew, man, that's a change in quality there. That is.
No, but here's the thing. This is the one he watched before. So it's like, okay,
Yeah, it's-
low bar,
that is
high bar.
Palate
There we go.
cleanser.
Yeah.
There you go.
yeah, I really got nothing to follow up the events that happened tonight. Like
No, how can you top that?
exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna escort you to your car tonight. I'm gonna make sure you get
Yeah,
you get safely to your vehicle. And we're
I've
gonna watch you drive off.
I've advised,
And so
Jay-
is your stalker.
Yeah.
I advised.
Well, he's just
Jay-
going to be in the back seat, so it doesn't matter.
I've advised Jay that if I somehow do not make it,
Message
to work.
me throughout the night. Like, just like,
Hourly.
I made it as good because I'll have 9-1 in the phone, and then if I don't hear from you, the other number's dropping.
Ethan, like those white women TikToks.
What? You're comparing me to white women?
If you have a zip tie on your door handle, run away. You're gonna be human trafficked. If there's like a flyer down by these are real TikToks that white women have been doing to tell people that they're gonna be human trafficked.
I don't know what's more disturbing. You're giving me this advice or the fact that you're on TikTok. I don't know what's
I'm
more.
not on TikTok. I've just seen the TikToks.
I'm more concerned by the fact that
I'm not on Twitter, but I can see a tweet.
We may have just trivialized human trafficking.
No, those women do themselves.
Yeah.
Because
Censored.
That's the first censored of the night right there. That just literally
that came out.
Hold
out
on,
of
Michael. Who did you think would say the thing that gets censored first? Me or him? Yes, me.
Well, hold on. I thought
Well, the police.
he would say something about his job.
The police care.
Where do you work?
Censored.
There you go. That's the second censored of the night.
I thought that would be the first.
Yeah.
Holder's going to be there tomorrow. He's going to.
Censored.
I have to just do like a rapid fire. Censored.
Yeah.
Censored. Or just this whole thing.
To explain that further, to give Jay more, Ethan.
Censored.
So, Sea Beast.
I'm going to have to record me doing the Macbeth soliloquy, and then every other line put in censored to match up to the quality of the truth you just spit,
Yeah,
and the uncomfortableness it provided for all of us.
that's fair enough. It was probably said a little bit more unelegantly than I wanted to, but that's fair enough. So, Ethan, the Sea Beast. I keep trying to come back to this. Tell me about this movie.
Can I just pass the torch to someone? Like,
No.
nothing.
No, you
Hold on.
mentioned it.
Hold
I'm
on.
disappointed. You can't mention the Sea
Hold on.
Beast and not
we're
explain.
We're
it.
coming up on 9 minutes in the cast.
Okay.
You got 30 sec. Give us a 30-second elevator
Elevator pitch.
and I will stop it. Your time starts now.
Appropriate.
See,
Ooh, not good under pressure.
Sea Beast is about pirates fighting monsters. Logo gets on a ship. She finds out the monsters aren't really bad. Pirate gets eaten by the same monster with the logo. They find out the sea beasts aren't bad. The king and queen of Europe are wanting to kill the sea beasts.
Oh, okay.
And then they have a bonding moment, and
I'm interested now.
Riveting.
I like the idea of monsters versus pirates, where the pirates are the bad guys. No, we've had like 8 billion Curse of the Black Pearls. Let's tell it from the monster side of the thing. I'm in.
Brady, what have you been up to, man?
So I finished a manga that Jody loaned me a couple of weeks ago. The first volume of Captain Harlock. Finished that up. It was all right. I don't know if you like. First of all, like I'm not really big on manga.
Right.
I have to like, it takes me like half the book to get into the mindset of how you're supposed to read it and everything. I'm still not even 100% sure if I did read it correctly. Kevin Gallo, write in and tell me how to read manga properly. If you want to, if you're so inclined.
Coming up on passenger feedback.
Oh, is he one step ahead?
On
Cool.
Kevin Gallo's passenger feedback.
No, we have several of them.
It was very old written. Like I felt like I was watching an old Astro Boy cartoon, which makes sense because I looked
It came out in the 70s.
Flipped through the back and it was like 1977 when this was first published, and that makes sense. The story is interesting. I actually watched a short video about the Captain Harlock anime,
and I had TV series.
Yeah, and I had watched. They like redid it about 10-15 years ago, and I watched I think this was actually a movie.
They made a couple of movies, yeah.
And I remember liking that a lot. I might actually seek that out. But it was all right. It's just like it was very old school, and like the way they like put things was very weird. And it's like and I'd be like, sometimes I would feel like from page to page I'd be like, what the fuck happened? Like things are different. But it's an interesting world. I like I do like the premise, but it was just okay to me. I would probably watch the anime before I'd really like read.
Yeah,
more
it's definitely like space opera, like Western / swashbuckler and space kind of feel to it.
And it's an interesting. Captain Harlock is kind of like a counterculture thing, which is really weird.
Anti-hero before it was popular,
because like everybody, like the whole thing is like Earth is so ineffectual and they don't want to do anything and they're bogged down by bureaucracy and nobody wants to like be the hero that they need, and they're just fine with passively letting an invasion happen. And he's more about, like the freedom to do as you want to.
Right. He's sort of a Robin Hoodish kind of character.
It's interesting. The world is interesting. It's just like some of the dialogue and some of the things that actually happen are just kind of paced weird. But yeah, it was interesting. I appreciate you loaning it out to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. I'm kind of weird about manga because I'm always like, oh man, like there's so much to like. If I want to read a manga, like there's so many like volumes of things.
My lanes are like pulp and horror. That's it, pretty much.
But if you're like, okay, I want to read this story. Okay, it's 60 volumes. It's like, what the fuck? I don't have time for that. Like, what the fuck?
As far as manga is concerned, a light read.
Yeah. Yeah, like that. And that's a light read. Like
I think there's only 3 volumes of the actual manga run. So 3 or 4.
That's interesting. Cause like, so old boy was a manga first. And the story is actually quite different. It's just basically the basics of a guy is kidnapped and in prison for an amount of time. That's really the only thing that's the same. And he meets a girl. Like that's about it.
Right.
And I started reading that, and I got to like the 4th volume, but there's like 10, 12 volumes, and that's like super short for but it's like, where do I put all of these fucking things? Like, if I buy a graphic novel, I'm gonna get like the whole thing in one sit, like.
Right. Yeah, that is the issue with manga. But I will say, like, one really good one is the Battle Royale manga.
Okay.
There's like 15 or 16 volumes of it, and they have them in condensed versions, but they've been out of print for a while, so they're rather expensive.
Okay. Yeah. That's another problem with them. They're kind of expensive
released like I think the first 2 volumes of it when they finally released Battle Royale on a proper Blu-ray release back. Like this is going back almost a decade ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the second thing I got to watch, I ended up buying a Blu-ray the other day of a movie that I wanted to watch in theaters. A while back, I had talked about a movie that came out at the beginning of the year called X. It was kind of it was a slasher kind of tribute to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that style, starring Mia Goth, directed by Ty West. And the funny thing about this movie is at the very end, there is like in the after credits, there is a teaser for Pearl, which is a prequel, which is the main one of the main bad people in the movie X, which takes place in the 70s. This is the prequel of that woman, which takes place in like 1918. Also starring Mia Goth. Mia Goth plays a dual role. She plays an old woman in it, and she also plays the young porn star in X. Mm-hmm. So I was finally able to watch Pearl. I bought it. I bought the Blu-ray because I liked X so much. I figured I might like this. I did not like this movie as much as X. It is not a slasher per se like X is. A lot of things are kind of done in an old school style. Like it has these weird opening credits, and it's a little bit more off-putting. But the movie like lives and dies by the performance of Mia Goth as Pearl. Like she's in every scene in the movie. She is the driving force of the movie, and she is really, really good. She plays this awkward girl, young woman. She's like a young woman because she's actually married and her husband goes off to war. And she's stuck at home on the farm, which is the same farm in X. These were shot at the exact same time. So yeah, she's on the farm with her like overbearing, like super religious German mother, and her father, who is basically an invalid. He's in a wheelchair the whole time. He doesn't speak, can't move. He just like kind of can like breathe hard sometimes and look with his eyes. And Pearl wants to be a dancer. She wants to be famous. She wants to get out of the world, and things keep happening to stop her from that, and then she finally snaps. It's an interesting movie. Like I said, I did not like it as much because I couldn't tell if there was anything that was being called back to, and if it was things that I'm not as interested in. But like Mia Goth's performance in this is like really, really good. Like she tears it down. There's like a monologue towards the end that is superb. Like I said, there's very off-putting imagery. It's not quite as violent overall as X, because X is really more of a slasher. There's violence, but it's not quite as over the top. I would recommend it. Apparently he's also doing a sequel to X called Maxine, who is the Mia Goth character in X. So, and this takes place in like the 80s. So there's going to be like a whole trilogy of this, because spoilers, the Maxine character, she escapes at the end of X. She's like the only
final girl kind of.
Yeah, she's the final girl. So that will be interesting. I look forward to that. Ty West is a really interesting director. I would say check out some of his stuff. I haven't checked out a whole lot of his stuff. I did watch The Sacrament, which is like a found footage Jonestown movie.
Oh, okay.
Man, the ending of that is, man, there's some tough parts to watch. But yeah, Ty West, he's great. So check those out if it sounds interesting to you. It's an interesting set of movies. I think Maxine's gonna be pretty good as well. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
All right, cool, man. Jay, what have you been up to?
Saturday night, I just finished work and I need to get something to eat. And what's open up on Saturday night going into Sunday morning? So I went to Taco Bell. Mm-hmm. So I get into the drive-thru at Taco Bell and just waiting, and then the PA comes on and goes, "I'm sorry, we're out of Taco Bell."
Wow.
At first I thought I misheard him and said, "No, sir, no, I don't want tacos. I was actually looking for burritos." In the war between tacos and burritos, I'm on the burrito side. Mm-hmm. And he then repeated, "I'm sorry, we're out of Taco Bell." Now I was intrigued. Mm-hmm. So I drove up to the second window, and all the lights were out. I had driven there, and all the lights were on, and now all the lights were out. And I looked behind me, and all of those lights were still on, and then they immediately cut out. And the fog had set in, so visibility was zero. I had realized I had fallen into liminal spaces. I no-clipped into the back rooms, and so I drove the fuck out of there. Yeah. And then I went to Denny's, which was also out of Taco Bell, but they're supposed to be out of Taco Bell.
Were they out of Denny's?
If you go to a Denny's and they have a Taco Bell, you are officially at the sketchiest Denny's.
And that's saying something.
Just remember that. You're probably somewhere south of Detroit. I'm just going to say that right now. And so I got a delicious burger with some Frenchy fries, and I'm driving home, and I passed by that Taco Bell filled with cars.
What the fuck?
Filled with cars.
What?
So I
really might have been
I made
in an
it so
alternate dimension
so
for a little while.
so I made it out of the back rooms, ladies and gentlemen. That was pretty good.
You left the Twilight Zone. Before it encapsulated
yeah, exactly.
you.
So that was pretty fun. XCOM 2 has been playing around pretty good. I'm enjoying that. Finished up a Blades in the Dark campaign. They ended up failing on their last mission, and they ended up blowing up all of themselves.
Wow.
And basically a factory that was making drugs by combining children with ghosts and turning them into a blue slurry that you then you could inhale it, you could smoke it, you could do your gums with the residue, however you wanted to do that.
Oh, all right.
And so they just blew up the place because one of the main guys in the group just didn't like to see children hurt. So so that's how it worked.
That's fair enough.
And so now they're starting a group of shadows now. So they're going to be spies and liars and see how that goes there. So it's going to be pretty good. And that is pretty much my week. There you go.
Oh, interesting.
Radtacular.
Jody, have you been doing?
Oh, thanks for asking. Because I'm absolute
Jody, how you been doing? Oh, Ethan already got. Sorry.
yeah.
Are you
I
stroking?
think you
Jay?
clipped out again there.
Oh God, I was in the back rooms. Your stalker says hi, Ethan.
Jesus Christ.
I discovered
Or secret admirer.
I discovered more
Ethan, I
videos
wasn't
of the
going to
back
bring it
rooms.
up.
Actually, Jay, there's more videos of the back rooms.
yeah, I know.
I like. It just keeps going.
It's so good.
It just keeps going.
Dude, and what's amazing? It started out as a computer generated project, and now he's got like live actors going along with it.
Yeah.
It's getting way better.
But it's not just one channel though. There are other people that are doing the same room because there's the video game version of it that they use footage from.
Yep.
And because it had a different corporation involved in it with a different gateway door and things like that.
The back room starts as of all things, I believe a 4chan post, and it was just basically a picture of this room, and it just posits this idea: what if it were possible to and when we say no clip, think about if you've ever played Doom and you turn clipping off, which means you could escape the boundary of the level, which means you're escaping the boundary of the world. So what if you could no clip through reality? Where would you end up? And they started using the term the back rooms, and there's a site similar to the SCP Foundation where they go through all of the levels of the back rooms, but because technically beyond the finite is infinite, you could pretty much do anything you want with this, and they've come up with some very clever ideas. The main backrooms videos that I've seen is putting together a very solid story that of all things involves time manipulation, and that's to me the hardest storytelling, because once you come out of linear time and start making it to where anything can happen, even Doctor Who fails at this because he has I mean, again, you're under the premise it's fixed points in time. No, you literally can go anywhere in time. At what point is the time point so fixed that you can't just undo it up to that point? So far, everything I've seen, I can't remember. I'm going to look up the name because I want to celebrate this, because this has been legitimately some of the best analog horror, some of the best.
Good.
It's exceptional stuff. But that main line through also. YouTuber Wendigoon also did a extensive
we talked about it last week.
Yeah, did an extensive on that one.
Yeah,
I highly recommend
Iceberg.
if you need to do a kind of a digest of that stuff, I would highly recommend going to that. And if that's something you feel you'd like, I think it's a good.
I would also again suggest Super Eye Patch Wolf's video on liminal spaces. He talks about the back rooms sometimes in there.
Yeah, because if you look up completed episodes or whatever, there's 3 or 4 different collections from multiple channels. So, and I've watched most of everything so far, but there might be more out there that I don't know about. So, I'm checking that out. And I watched the 2018 Suspiria over the weekend.
There you go.
Yeah, I watched it for 2 reasons. One, I needed to watch it, and 2, I needed content for the podcast.
Yeah. So sometimes you do that when you have a podcast.
Let me go one further on that one. He had watched it, and then almost immediately, within 2 hours, that the podcast was done and up.
Yeah, I recorded it and then I edited it immediately after, so it's fresh in my mind, because I don't but I'm going to have to start scripting things out because, as Jay already knows, editing sucks 10 terribly.
Yeah, that's why we have Jay do this and not
But
me.
the thing for me,
I'll have a counterpoint, but
Yeah.
that real quick. Oh
Yeah.
no, after you're done, as far
Yeah,
as
yeah.
I think I'm gonna finish up.
all I
on
was
that.
gonna say about editing is the thing is like, okay, so are you gonna enjoy the grind and like long thought out process of writing out your script and kind of following it like as a guideline, and that's gonna take time, or are you gonna go back every 3 seconds and cut out clicks, all that minutia of audio,
Yeah.
like you knows, if you have any of that. And I do have more. I thought I'd gotten around it, but I had way too many of those, so I've been
It's hard for you to see that or hear that when you're the one speaking.
because when you're saying those things verbally, you're actually thinking while you're saying them, because it's
Yeah.
like a process for your brain to catch up to what you're trying to get to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Editing is a very close second to actually being like actually producing the material to go to editing, because once you have it, it's this interesting play of, okay, I've done this. Okay, so I think, okay, these gaps need to be shortened here. I think it makes it a little bit more crisp. But at the same time, you also have these. I'll leave the ums and ahs sometimes in our stuff because as I'm listening to it, you can hear the thought process and and I think it makes it kind of more genuine. I don't leave it often. It's usually when it's a longer, like a stretch of about a minute, where someone is presenting a lot of very good key factual information. But at other times, I'll just go ahead and just knock that out. Like you probably will not have noticed the before I said other in that, because I just completely eliminated it out of there. Editing is very fun because it's almost like playing with Legos. Like we mentioned the whole censor thing there. I kind of like that because then it's like, okay, how can I time this down to where like the punch of the joke kind of just hits there and it works. Those are the kind of things I like about editing. Where I don't like editing is where I'm taking on a project that I feel, and then find out later that it's, oh God.
Yeah.
The supercut, and I greatly appreciate everybody who on all sides that thank me about that and say, because once it got it down to it, it was fun doing it. But the constant issue of balancing up the sounds, and I could never get it right, and I was always that's the only times where I'm like, God damn it. Arrgh. But but no, like again, I even then I still loved editing that thing, because once the finished product was out there, it was 2 hours of a good group of friends.
Well, yeah,
and just producing.
Yeah,
good
for
content.
me, it's like, recording, the actual recording process, like we're doing now, for all three of us, it's cathartic. For you, it's cathartic, but also there's a process later on, and getting it out is the fun part, and the editing, it depends on my mood, but sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like it's Michael's
editor.
So
over
we've
here.
already mentioned the live studio
Yeah.
audience. Michael, you do some
You
editing.
love editing, don't you?
Hand this man a microphone for a third point on this.
Editing is both one of the funnest things that you can do, and it is also the most annoying thing that you can do. Like you said, the ums, uhs, all that. I tend to leave those in because they're part of natural human conversation. And I think that it should be more natural when we talk and when we're listening to things. But at the same time, go back and listen to old episodes of Whiskey and Wrestling, and it's, if we do this, then, and it's unlistenable.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you.
It's unlistenable. So, but yeah, editing, it just adds a whole other dimension to the content that you're creating. So.
Yeah, I agree with both Jay and Michael, and I will say that I do leave some of them in there, especially when it's part of like a longer, a phrase or sentence or paragraph or whatever. But in between breaks and what I'm saying, if I have a lot of them, I have to cut them out. So you both, Brady and Jay, you've seen the new Suspiria, right? You've seen the original Suspiria?
I have seen bits and pieces. I haven't actually
I've seen
watched
the
the
original.
whole.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to get your any sort of like opinions, questions you have for me or anything like that about the movie. Even though I did an episode on Purology about it, I'd like to know.
If you want to hit just that one, I'll just talk briefly about just the small comparison.
Yeah, I mean,
between the two.
I fucking love that movie. I think it's great. It's very interesting what it does with how the original is so bright and vibrant and over the top with its color choice, and this goes in another direction, and everything is muted and dull. but it fits. But it does. But it's not like bland to look at it. It's weirdly vibrant in its own muted way. It's very, without watching the movie, it's very hard.
The
to
colors
explain
that are there that are vibrant pop out because of the other dark tones that are going on.
I like everybody in it. Fucking Tilda Swinton's like 3-4 different people in this movie.
Isn't Mia Goth also in this movie?
Mia Goth is in that. She's in everything weird because she's a weird person. Dakota Johnson is very good in this.
Right.
She's underrated.
She is very underrated.
That was very good.
I also liked her in like Bad Time at the El Royale. The movie was okay, but she was great in it. Everybody was good in it. It fell apart in the end, but that's not here, neither here nor there. But like, yeah, she's one of those where she got into a big franchise and the franchise was shit. And it made it, and it looked badly on her.
Right.
But yeah, I love that movie. I think it's great. It is. There are some horrific sequences in that movie.
Yeah, I would agree.
The dancing and then cutting to the
twisting,
the girl getting twisted to death.
No, I don't. I want people to be surprised by that because that's evocative. Like it just is.
Yeah.
For me, like if you go into Suspiria 2018 or 2019. I think it's 2019.
I think it's 2019.
And you go with the notion that, I'm seeing a remake of the 70s. Don't think of it as a remake. This is a reimagining.
Right.
This is a much more serious story. The 70s Suspiria is horror mixed with giallo. It is very much a product of its time. I mentioned before that it was the last Technicolor movie. It was one of the last Technicolor movies, and it was processed on the last working Technicolor processing machine in Rome. Which is kind of a little bit of a history there. Yeah, again, you have deep depth blacks, shadows, and then everything else that is color is bright and vibrant because of the Technicolor process. So it's absolutely just stark movie. I like looking back, but this will be repeated by another actor in our main topic. But Udo Kier is in this movie, and a young Udo Kier with hair. So it's weird looking back at old Suspiria and seeing now older Udo Kier with like no hair whatsoever. Jessica Harper, as you mentioned, I think Jessica Harper was perfectly cast, and she perfectly responded to what she is in that
Susie
movie.
Character.
Just absolutely like the Susie Bannion.
In the new movie, especially for anyone who hasn't seen the original for Brady 2, that old man that was the doctor, or the psychiatrist, or whatever, doesn't exist in the original film. He's not there. I liked that angle, and I like that Jessica Harper's in the new one. That's Jessica Harper. His wife is Jessica Harper. So that was pretty cool. They're almost completely two different films in a lot of ways to me. Like there's so much difference going on there that the problem with reboots, remakes, and stuff like that is like either you have to like bridge the gap following the original material, but not exactly like the Psycho remake is the best example of don't do that.
Yeah,
shot for shot, scene for scene is a bad idea, but also you don't want to stray too far from the original material unless you go way out there, which is what I think they did with Suspiria, because in the original film they really you have no idea what's happening with the supernatural stuff. You have no idea what's happening till like 2/3 of the movie in.
Yeah,
like the people that are running this ballet school, there's something sketchy, but you have no clue. And I would say that's a hallmark of a lot of Argento giallos is the fact that you have this mystery where it could be anybody, and then sort of towards at the end, that's where everything kind of. And in the new one, they have a different mystery because they pretty much like lay out like what's going on early on from this perspective of the girl that's trying to get away at the very beginning. Which at first I was kind of like taken back from that, but now that I think
girl running away reminded me of the running away scene in Martyrs. For me, just kind of in my brain.
Yeah, because in the original film, it's just like as Jessica Harper's approaching the ballet school for the first time, this and it's fucking coming down, it's pouring in the same situation, it's raining really hard, and this girl's leaving the ballet school as Jessica Harper is approaching and bolts out into the woods, and that's it for her.
Yeah, there
is nothing else. But they gave this girl a backstory and everything. So and it was very integral to what was happening. So.
Yeah, it's I think it's as a society kind of lean on the idea that remakes are all like soulless cash grabs, but that doesn't necessarily have to be that. You can take an idea or the spirit of the original and try and redo it interpret it in a different way, or try a different thing. And I think that's what this one
also
did.
You're bringing a newer audience to an older IP in a way. People that had never heard of the original, when they type in Suspiria, there's going to be two things that pop up. So yeah,
Kane Pixels is the name of the YouTube channel with the backrooms, with the majority of the backrooms
Okay.
videos that I've watched. I just
Okay.
wanted to get that out there. Also, just last bit on that, maybe Tom York, excellent score.
Oh yeah, Tom York did
that was
all
good.
the music, including some vocal stuff.
And then
on there.
also Goblin, excellent score.
Goblin did the original. He did quite a few Italian horror films from the late 70s to early 80s. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. If you want to know what we've been doing, not really, because all you got to do is listen to the show. If you'd like to contact us, though.
Oh, gee. Oh, God. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought normally you pass. It's like, Jay, do we have any passenger feedback? And it's all smooth and it's fucking great. It's like peanut butter.
Hard cut.
It's like peanut butter and butter, baby. No. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out and having a good time listening to us. We hope you're having a good time. If you'd like to get some friends also involved and like to listen to us, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Anchor. Saga. Hey, Jody, where else can they get in contact with us?
You can directly message us on Spotify and also be part of our polls if you want to get
Polls and
involved.
questions, absolutely. And the main way you get in touch with us is through email, travelers on the omnibus at gmail.com. Again, that's travelers, 1L on the omnibus at gmail.com. We got some feedback this week.
We're also unverified on Twitter if you want to contact us.
Yeah, we're unverified.
Yeah.
I couldn't get away from the Starbucks that week. I couldn't cut out 8 Arizona teas out of my life.
We needed our avocado toast.
I needed a medium-sized number 3 meal from McDonald's. I needed that, and so I couldn't get
We
us
also
verified.
agreed that we didn't want to assist Elon Musk in trying to keep Twitter afloat. So
Yeah, we kind of wanted Twitter to die before he bought it.
yeah.
So like why nothing's changed our mind since.
Yep,
There
still
you go.
misinformation and porn. That's all you need. All right, so.
Are we talking about Tumblr now?
No, we're talking about Twitter.
only with like 500% more white supremacists now.
Yeah. Oh.
Stay away from that.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of stuff this week. So we're going to go through this as quickly as we can. Mind. And then Ethan actually has some feedback that was sent to him as well. So here we go.
Oh, man.
So
You think you're special,
this
don't
one
you,
comes
Ethan?
from
I mean, I'm the
Lionel.
one that got messaged.
This one comes from Lionel
Fuck
Clark.
you, Ethan.
This one comes from Lionel Clark, visual arts instructor, D'Iberville High School, adjunct instructor, Pearl River Community College, and also my cousin. So there's a little bit of nepotism in there. But also, if you're into HeroClix, Gulf Coast HeroClix every Wednesday night at McNarp Gaming in Goshen, Mississippi. We'll get to more pluggy plugs later. But hello all. The last episode was great in this referencing non-superhero comics. Almost.
Thank you. Wait, hold
Aha,
on.
I gotcha.
Ooh.
The books you covered were great, especially when James brought up Transmetropolitan. Thank you, cousin. Thank you. This is also one of my all-time favorites. The one notable book that y'all missed was Preacher. This is one of the greatest non-superhero books ever. I'd love to get y'all's thoughts on it. I'd also like to hear a different member of the cast rap over the intro each week. Get to it. Keep up the great work. Cuz, thank you very much. No on the rapping for now.
That's way too much effort.
That's a lot.
For
That's
Brady,
way too much
that's way
effort.
too much effort. So it's down to 3 of us.
I make
I'm
mostly instrumental music.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do an instrumental rap.
No.
I
You'd be
don't
like
know.
Herbie Hancock.
So this isn't. That's something you'll just have
Let's
to cut.
talk
It's
about
fine.
Preacher real quick. The Garth Ennis, in my opinion, classic. I think he's
Yeah.
absolutely right. That also I think also from the Vertigo line, I believe.
It is Vertigo.
Yep.
I wanna
I
say.
didn't bring it up because I've seen bits and pieces. Like I know of Preacher a decent amount, but I've never actually read the comic. I've watched the first 3 seasons of the show and liked it a lot, especially the first season. I thought the first season was very, very good. But I have not actually read the comic, so I would have not been able to bring anything with that. I just didn't think about it. It's
I read the first couple of volumes of it, and it wasn't that I couldn't get into it. One little like history chunk right here for the comic book boom that happened in the early to mid 90s. There was a lot of things coming out all the time.
well, you had to get your special lenticular cover.
There was a crossover for X-Men that was 23 issues, Ethan. The Executioner song. Over like 2 or 3 months, all the comic book lines from X-Men.
Yeah, they do that like every
Well,
4
I mean,
months.
and then that went even further overboard with Onslaught because that was the entirety of the Marvel universe.
Oh, yeah.
and that started in the X-Men.
I think that's one of the reasons why people didn't really like that one.
All that was happening, and I was also reading like the Tales from the Crypt reissues and Sandman and Saint Sinner and so forth and so on. And it was just like, at the time when a lot of great things were coming out, it was just one more thing that I didn't have money for basically at the time because, comic books were still like $3.
Yeah.
So also Image, that was also happening. I was reading the Max and Pitt every 6 months when an issue was being released for that.
Yeah, I appreciate Preacher. We probably should have at least mentioned it, but it didn't cross my mind because again, I haven't.
There was
read
a lot.
It.
There was the same reason really for me too.
I just know of it.
There was a lot of things. John Constantine, Hellblazer.
Again, that Vertigo line was stacked. Absolutely stacked. For me, if you haven't read Preacher, read Preacher. If you can get your hands on it, absolutely.
I remember. I think the R Space was like the first thing that stood out. The guy who tried to shoot himself in the face with a shotgun. And
Garth Ennis is a fantastic comic book writer, except for superhero comics.
He's one of the ones that despises superheroes, though, doesn't he?
Garth Ennis, I believe.
I get him mixed up with Warren Ellis and all of those guys.
He's had a few things where he has gone with superhero stuff. But his best work is when he's working with heroes that don't have superpowers, and with and then stuff like this in Preacher, where it's like dealing with the supernatural and things like that.
Was Garth Ennis did Punisher, didn't he?
Garth Ennis had one of the best runs on Punisher
Okay,
that I ever
that was
read.
Welcome Back, Frank.
Welcome Back, Frank, and that whole.
Yeah, I was also reading Punisher during that time.
For some reason, I get him and Warren Ellis mixed
Similarly,
up quite a lot.
Frank Quietly is a fantastic comic book artist, except with superheroes, because he did Earth 2 with Grant Morrison as the writer, and he was the artist. And it was like if you slapped Superman drawn by Garth Ennis, your hand would be cut to pieces because there's so many just like ridges and edges on it. Like it to me, it doesn't fit superhero comics.
Yeah,
but like the Punisher, oh my god, that is just perfect artwork.
The War Zone, man.
I don't agree with that. I think Quietly does it's weird, like you have to get used to it, but I've liked some stuff that Quietly has done with superheroes, but to each his own. It's all
there you go.
Moving on.
From our friend and constant poster Kevin Gallo, we have some stuff this week.
Oh, cool.
He sent me a link from T.H. Chan from the Harvard School of Public Health. Is coffee good or bad for your health? I'll have that link put up in the bio for this one. I think we're responding to the fact that you drink more Monsters than you breathe air.
Okay.
And we were concerned about your health on this one.
Okay.
I haven't looked at the article yet, but I'll make the article available to the boys and also to everyone who has been listening to this. You'll see that in the show notes. Another one, quote, "We didn't care who won. Brady, aka Scrub Quotes, lol." Silence. Okay, good. We go. We'll continue that.
I have no idea what you're referring to.
Get ready, because he's always calling about scrub quoting on fighting games. Brace yourself for this one. I'll also concede that you perked your ears up when you're hearing that one. There you go. That I agree that it plays best with items and stages and the whole nine, and would happily agree it's a party fighting game, but it is still a fighting game nonetheless. It's no different than the debate between 3D versus 2D as far as whether or not. There is a vein. I don't think we entered out into it. There are people who consider 3D fighting games not fighting games. They consider them like dance games because you're moving around one another and all that. I think that's more of a meme/troll statement as far as that goes. 3D fighting games and 2D fighting games are fighting games. I'd agree it to being a platform fighter. Again, speaking about Smash Brothers. Pick the rules you want to play. That's irrelevant to me. Also, Street Fighter 6 is adding a bunch of fun party type modes. I am now interested in Street Fighter 6 because I would like to see some of that stuff in there. Last bit. I know it's a bit, but I have no idea why you guys think I give two shits about movies, lol. To my response was, that I knew. I think it became a through line for the episode to just expect critique from you on everything. So, yeah.
That is the bit.
That is the bit.
Yeah. So, yeah. But then, Kevin, thank you very much. Just a quick, just a little once on there, because I definitely want to get to Ethan's feedback here real quick. Have we found, at the very least, a medium upon which we can at least stand across from one another with what he said there about how he's agreed that, it is a fighting game. It's more party, and it actually does play better with a little bit more chaos.
I mean,
Is this?
I thought it was pretty obvious that anything that I said about it was a little bit tongue in cheek to get a rise, and I got one. So my job is done.
There we go. More passive aggressiveness. I appreciate this.
I'll be aggressive.
But
wait.
whatever,
Well,
it's
no.
fine.
The man wants to be aggressive.
Okay,
Go
be
for
aggressive.
I will quote myself from the last time we were talking
wow.
about this. It became a fighting game. It was not initially a fighting. Smash Brothers was a party game because Mario Party was a party game, and it became what it became as far as like a community gathered around a game and made it into something that wasn't what it was originally intended for, which is great because it pushed popularity of the game, and I'm all about fun games being played by as many people.
I want to
as
end it on
possible.
this for everybody on a mic right now. If you played it, Power Stone, fighting game, party game, or party fighting game. Just those, and we can move on.
No comments.
Okay, I haven't played it.
I haven't played it, but I know.
I will say, guys, God bless the ring.
That is the fourth answer on there. There you go. Ethan, you had some feedback coming.
That game didn't originally have Final Fantasy VII characters in it,
and they figured it wouldn't sell.
Yeah, I think so. Because I remember seeing like a preview and like an EGM where it just had all these characters.
Random
I was
Square
at
Enix
that
characters.
point, I didn't like Final Fantasy,
Right.
or RPGs or anything like that. So I was actually like mad that they put those characters in there. But
That's fair.
you got to sell a game somehow. Ethan.
Yes, you said my name.
Oh, that was just a cue for you to continue
Oh yeah,
on.
I have this. Yes.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Mr. Big Shot, I have all this. People are like messaging me and asking me questions, but I can't even remember what I'm supposed to be doing in here.
The wonderful Jason Holder from Whiskey and Wrestling texted me in regards to our last episode. Pulp Fiction, I cannot recommend enough. Easily in my top 5 movies of all time. To fill out a list though: Akira, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Cube, and to understand all these old fucks around you, Mallrats.
I would agree with everything but Cube. I fucking hate that movie. I really do.
I didn't hate it until I found out it was Canadian. That's slightly
Good Lord.
It's slightly tongue in cheek, but not really. I like that list, except Mallrats.
Not a fan.
I'm not a fan of Mallrats.
Yeah.
Mallrats
I like
is
it
one of
okay.
the more Watchable.
Mallrats.
Kevin Smith was very influential on pretty much everybody in this kind of age range except for Ethan. But man, a lot of his movies are hard to watch nowadays.
They're very dated, but I will say
the View Askewniverse movies. Of those, I think Mallrats is one of the more watchable.
I like
movies.
Chasing Amy. I think Chasing
Amy,
but it's now
does not.
Yeah, it does not. Yeah, with
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Winter,
no,
it does not.
with the
We have another
he
audience
has
member now. We
specifically
have
like came back and said, "Man, this was not my movie to make."
Right, definitely. But
I would like to see the premise of Chasing Amy actually like written by not just a straight white dude.
Right.
I guess
I get
that would be
that.
interesting. But
more so for me. Who's directing it?
yeah,
right.
Like who's taking the words and then
that's
actually
probably the big
I
thing.
think to me personally, the only reason why I like Mallrats at all in retrospect is not from the acting or the writing. It's for the fact that it was made during a time when nerd culture was not in the zeitgeist, and there was like a lot of the characters were very nerdy in a lot of different ways. Not just in what they were interested in, but just their mannerisms and how they acted.
This is hard to recommend because I haven't watched in a very long time. But I would say Dogma would be better on that list.
Dogma's really good.
I think Dogma holds up better even than Mallrats.
I have a question.
And
So,
it's
Ethan,
it's a little bit more challenging.
Ethan, out of that list, what would have been shot because you've seen it, or have you not seen any of them?
I'd like to say I've seen Akira, but I don't. I think it was like in the period where I was watching movies with my brother and he showed it to me and I just wasn't interested. So I don't remember it.
That holds. I would say that. That's one, to me, the manga, because they have more story and being able to kind of get into it, because like the movie is more kind of like like a feast for the eyes. Like, look at all the stuff that we can do in animation.
Well, also he's probably like 14 when he saw it, so like
but I'm saying as far as Akira goes, like if you want a story, read the book. If you want an experience, watch the movie.
Yeah,
well, if you're not
that's the big thing.
exposed to certain kinds of animes, that's a whole different
I will say,
topic.
And if that's one of the early ones that you've seen, like that's a confusing ass movie.
I will say, this does confirm I need to watch Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction is great.
100%.
I wouldn't have. Again, that wouldn't have been my Tarantino to recommend, but Pulp Fiction you can't really go wrong.
Reservoir Dogs also.
Yours would have been Jackie Brown. Right?
Jackie Brown, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, like I don't think there was a single. I don't think that there's a disagreement that you should watch all of them except Nausicaa because you've already seen Nausicaa.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just which ones do we need to get in front of you first, and what that means is tonight's topic, which is
Casablanca.
I had way more energy, and then you were very smooth with it. I like that. I like that. No, it's very nuanced, much like Casablanca.
Before we get into this, I wanna like drop a little knowledge about this movie.
Go for it.
So, Ethan, I don't know if you noticed when you were watching this film that there was a song that kind of like went through most of.
There was a couple of songs.
Mainly
There are many songs.
Mainly the main song though. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Ingrid Bergman humming that for it to be played on the piano, we wouldn't have gotten that song at all because the director apparently hated that fucking song, and so they had already shot that scene and she was done and she had her hair cut. She was making another film and they couldn't reshoot that scene. So instead of oh man, what am I going to do here? He just pushed the song throughout the whole entire movie and it made so many scenes work so well. So Casablanca, which came out in January of 1943 during World War II.
Yes, it is a movie. It is ostensibly a war movie that is set that came out during the war as it was happening
in Casablanca.
Well, so much so. So the original premiere of this happens at the Hollywood Theater November 26, 1942. It was wide release in 1943. They had to rush that because around the same time, that's when the Allies began their attacks in North Africa.
Yeah, that's when Casablanca was actually taken, I believe.
Casablanca, Morocco.
Like literally, like what we would say, like talking about the now. That's literally why that was rushed out,
and that helped their PR a little bit there.
Yes.
I'm
going to stress this: Casablanca was a rushed production.
Yeah.
Imagine what they would have done if they'd had time.
They
maybe screwed it all up.
All
Who
the
knows?
sets were reused except for one, and that was Rick's Cafe Americana.
Right. They actually halfway through ran out of script.
That is also very amazing because that is a very tight script.
How do you run out of a script?
That happens quite a bit. They were usually in very shitty movies.
They were rewriting, and we'll get to the most important part after our review discussion of the film near the end of that. When we get to the end of the film itself, and I want to talk about that specific scene.
I want to put out some solid points about it. Casablanca, directed by Michael Curtis with screenplay by Julius J. and Philip G. Epstein and Howard Koch, based off of the book Everybody Comes to Rick's. Excuse me, not a book, but a play. Everybody Comes to Rick's. Produced by Hal B. Wallace, of course, starring the immortal Humphrey Bogart, the immortal Ingrid Bergman, the not as immortal, but thought he was, Paul Heinrich. We'll get to that in a little bit. Claude Rains, who was the Invisible Man.
Yep.
He wasn't invisible in this movie.
Conrad Veidt, Sidney Greenstreet, and in my opinion, the most underrated actor in the history of cinema, Peter Lorre.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And just absolutely stellar cast. Music by Max Steiner, of course, produced by and distributed by Warner Brothers. And they initially released once again November 26, 1942. January 23rd, 1943 is when it was released in all theaters with a runtime of an hour and 42 minutes. On a budget of almost $1 million in 1940s money, it made a box office of $3.7 to $6.9 million.
Also, again, because this was being made during World War II, there were rations on, so like they had to ration some things during this movie. It's crazy.
Yeah, Peter Lorre for Ethan and anyone else who hasn't seen this movie is the guy that kind of goes up to Rick early in the film. He's
Garth.
like, he's like
He kicks the plot off, basically.
he's like,
gotcha.
he's like, Rick, I want you to hold these papers
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Yep.
You hate me, don't you, Rick?
You hate me. You despise me.
If I gave you any thought, I probably would.
if it were
The disdain that he has for Ugarte's.
yeah, if it
palpable.
were a top 8 list from last week, Fritz Lang's M would have
Oh,
been on
yeah.
there.
Oh, shit, he
And-
is in that.
Yeah,
Damn.
he definitely is in that.
Wow.
Yeah, German
Yeah.
born.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So this Mr. Ugarte comes into Rick's club, the Cafe Americana, and he again hands him these papers and like what's going on with these papers, and it's established just a bit earlier that
let me
okay,
set
go
some
for
things up because
go ahead.
go for it.
I think, not tooting my own horn, but I think out of everybody, I think I probably know pretty much the most about World War II. Like I've read about it and looked up stuff and all that.
You do go to the museum religiously.
So this takes place in Casablanca, which at this time is controlled by unoccupied France. So when the Germans rolled into Paris, they took over the top half of France. Basically, it is occupied. France is in direct control of Nazi Germany. The bottom half, which is referred to as Vichy France, was unoccupied. They basically have a puppet government almost. Like they're subservient to the Nazis, but they are still their own government, and they have kind of a neutrality thing going on, but they will eventually fight for the Nazis, basically. So that's kind of starting this off. That's where this is. So Casablanca is this weird area where it's kind of neutral but kind of not, and we'll get into the weird things that causes as we go through the plot, and I'll mention more things about that. But yeah, this is a place where the people who are trying to escape from Europe have to go through Casablanca, because you can't just go through occupied France because you're going to get picked up by the Nazis. So you're trying to go through, and these are not like Jewish refugees. These are just people trying to get the hell out of Europe because they know that it's terrible right now.
Well, and in particular, like the concentration camps have been set up.
Yeah. This is late into things. So you're going to go from through Marseille at the bottom of France, go to Casablanca, then go to Lisbon, and Lisbon can take you straight to America. Everybody's trying to get to America because there's a big gigantic goddamn ocean in between them and the Nazis. So that's where we're at.
Which that is brought up in a voiceover. One of the first things you experience in this movie is the title theme, which also interweaves the French national anthem at the very end of it.
La Marseillaise.
I think it's just La Marseille. I think it's just
there's an accent on it. I like listen to a thing to see how to pronounce it, but then I have kind of forgotten that.
To our French and or French speaking
I don't speak
passengers,
French,
please
so,
let us know. But I've always said it's La Marseille. It might be La Marseille, actually.
I think it's Marseille. I think that's how you pronounce
I think
it.
it's Marseille. Now that you say it, yeah.
Somebody write in, I'm certain, will tell us.
But yeah, but then you have this voiceover, which for me, before I had seen Casablanca, I had seen the 10 Commandments, and every so often in the 10 Commandments, you have this guy voicing over, and it's like, and the Lord brought upon great, and it's like, and so whenever I hear this, I think of that. So it's like Jesus is about to come down and drop some kicks on some Nazis.
Do not try your magician tricks on me, young Moses.
Yeah.
I am Pharaoh, and this is my kingdom.
But they talk about how people kind of get stuck in Casablanca and they have to wait and wait and wait. And then they keep saying that until it fades into like you see the market area and people like going around, and you see people being rounded. Is that before? Yeah.
Rounded, the papers go missing and they start rounding these people up.
And you don't really know at this point. And you also see a little short scene that I really like where this old English couple is like, oh, what's going on? And this guy comes up to him and is like, yeah, some stuff's going down. You better be careful. And then that guy leaves, and then the old English guy gets up to pay the bill, and he's like, oh, I must have left my wallet. And then he realizes that the guy pickpocketed it.
I like that character because he shows up at least once or twice more.
And has no direct impact on they were so good at world building.
Oh, yeah.
Casablanca is so realized.
He bumps into the matron of the
Yeah,
bar, and
yeah.
he checks to make sure his wallet's still in his
Yeah,
pocket.
because he knows them. So yeah, you see this, and then I'm sorry, I'm kind of hijacking.
No, go
this,
ahead.
but,
Go ahead.
And then you see cuts to a airport, and a plane comes in, and it's the Nazis. And this is where you meet Captain. It's Captain,
Colonel.
right?
I think it's Colonel Strasser.
Well, yeah, it's Colonel. It's Major Strasser.
It is Major Strasser.
Renault.
yes.
Renault. He's Captain, right?
Captain Renault. Yeah.
You see him.
Captain Renault played by
Claude Rains.
by the legendary Claude
Rains. Yeah, phenomenal. One of my favorite characters.
Nominated for this role, did not win. It's quick spoiler, but yeah.
One of my favorite characters in this whole thing.
Yes.
And you meet Major Strasser, who is going to be the main bad guy. He is the head Nazi, played by what's his name?
I think that was Veidt. I think
Yeah,
that was,
Veidt.
that was Conrad Veidt.
Conrad Veidt. All during World War II. He escaped Nazi Germany because his wife was Jewish. He only took parts that were evil Nazis because he wanted to make sure that people were saw Nazis portrayed as evil. Because
nice.
before this, before they like invaded, there were a lot of people in America who were kind of cool with the Nazis, but then they invaded Poland and they tried to and France and everything, and then we're like, oh, we still kind of like them, but we have to be quiet about it. So he made it a point to only ever be like evil Nazis because he wanted to make sure that people, like, he thought that was him doing his duty, was I need to portray Nazis as evil scum.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of history buff. My history buff senses like really laughed at this is when they walk through, like, the Italians are also there and they introduce themselves and they are immediately ignored because that's how much the Germans cared about the Italians. Nobody gave a shit about
that. Was
the
pretty much
Italians.
the entirety of Europe.
Yes,
Like,
nobody gave a shit about the Italians.
One of the nicknames for Italy during this period of what is Europe's soft underbelly.
Yeah.
Which they thought if there's going to be an invasion to come through, it wasn't France. They thought they could ride all the way up through Italy, which is completely controlled by the Axis.
Yeah. And they almost did until the Nazis Germany actually had to send soldiers in to stop it, and then they stalled. But before that, it was going to be a complete and total wipe through Italy. There probably wouldn't have even been a Normandy.
Also, shout out to the mafia for helping the United States get footholds in Corsica and Sardinia.
Yeah.
And not Sardinia, Corsica and
Sicily.
Sicily. Thank you. My apologies to the mafia.
Yeah.
Please do not send me a horse head.
Yeah, that was James McCarthy who made that
That
mistake.
Of course, the MK Ultra agent would be like forcing me off on fucking mafia.
What?
Do you remember we established you as being part of MK Ultra like a couple episodes ago?
I don't remember anything.
Exactly what an MK Ultra operative would say.
I like how MK Ultra has been mentioned during our review of Casablanca.
Yeah, this 1940s movie. We didn't know what LSD was at that time. It hadn't been banned yet.
I like how they introduced the Rick character.
Also the cafe that he owns, the saloon that he owns, how it's introduced is so, like, that's something that struck me. Like, I wrote down, like, oh my God, Cafe Americana is like the coolest fucking place.
Yeah, I'd love to go there.
Like, they do this shot where they weave through the tables, and you're seeing all these people interact, and you're seeing the band play, and you're seeing Sam play on his piano, who that guy couldn't play the piano. He faked everything. He was a drummer.
Oh, nice.
That is so completely perfect. Again, like it just is.
That movie is full of Chekhov's guns that pay off like constantly.
Oh yeah.
All
like
the time.
Early on, there is I can't remember if it's a lady or a couple or whatever that asks like, is Rick here? I'd like to have a drink with Rick, and then like the matron's like, Rick doesn't have drinks with customers.
The matron, who is a German guy.
Yeah.
He hires a lot of people who are clearly the bartender is Russian. He hires a lot of people who are clearly not like American or British. Like, he hires a lot of people.
Two things. Not again, like you said, not, I would say Anglo to cover England and the United States, but also not Nazis.
Yeah.
Like anti-fucking Nazis.
Yeah. Yeah, the German guy is decidedly not a Nazi.
Yes.
Like,
Right. Like he's probably maybe a Jewish descent or something.
He
like
might
that.
even be that.
Because later on you kind of get that feeling when something's going down.
Yeah.
But we're introduced to the cafe. We're introduced to Rick pretty soon.
Yeah.
When we have the
Playing chess.
playing chess by himself.
Who, if I'm not mistaken, take this for what it will. It was on IMDb. He's playing an actual game that, like, he set up a game that he's actually playing through correspondence with somebody.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
And then Peter Lorre comes in.
Peter Lorre, slimy ass comes.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh my god,
He's so perfect in that role, but
It
it
is.
just
Rick.
it makes me sad that he's not in the film more.
Yeah,
but for
right.
what his character has to have happen. Yeah,
yeah. The driving plot, and he needs to not be there anymore. Yeah, he is so slimy, and Rick hates this guy. Oddly, though, he does do what he asks him to do, but he just
Begrudgingly.
yeah, like he's just sitting there, like, oh, you think I'm a parasite, don't you? You hate me because of that. And he's like, and Rick goes, I don't mind you. I don't mind a parasite. It's a cut rate one that I mind. Like, he just hates him so much.
Almost immediately after the papers are passed on, he's apprehended.
Yeah.
Pretty quickly.
So he passes him some papers, which are this is a MacGuffin that they invented for the movie. These letters of transit that it rubs me a little bit the wrong way because it's very obvious that because these are signed by Charles de Gaulle. Charles de Gaulle was not in charge of France at all. He led the French resistance during this time, so he wouldn't have had any authority to talk. But these are letters of transit that you just show. You write your name in, you show them, and they cannot be undone. Like so it gets you on the plane, no questions asked.
Golden ticket.
It's a golden ticket, basically. This is the MacGuffin of the movie. Is these, and he asks them to hide them because he has a big Ugarte has a big score coming today, and he needs a safe place because he knows that somebody knows that he's got them, or that they're missing and they're looking for them. So for safekeeping, he gives them to Rick. I don't particularly, as much as he hates him, I never have quite understood why Rick does this, but I guess it's just you do me a favor, I do you a favor. Rick is the epitome of cynicism through most of this movie, especially at the very beginning. So yeah.
Well, Bogart, it's also another thing when I was doing research is up until this movie came out, he mostly played bad guy gruff kind of characters.
Well, gangster, but he played gangsters, and so and there's always this criminal element to a lot of Bogart's work, and you can see that also in this character as well. But I think it stands out that a criminal versus the Nazis. The criminal is the good guy versus the Nazis. So I think that's to me that's another in the back
studio,
of your head.
This is during the heyday of the machine that was Hollywood.
Yeah.
The studio wanted somebody else to play the character, and the director's like, nope, I want Bogart, and that's what's happening.
Well, and also most of the stars in Hollywood, like that would in this goes into another bit of an avenue, but most of your Hollywood stars were actually in planes or with guns in hand fighting the Nazis.
There was some of that.
Jimmy Stewart was in the belly of a B-52.
Yeah, like when Jimmy Stewart in Rear Window is talking about like military stuff, and
he was there.
Yeah, he was there. He experienced
there.
it. That wasn't acting. That's just him telling you the truth.
I want to say Clark Gable.
Clark Gable. North by Northwest. Cary Grant. Cary
Grant. That's the one I was thinking of.
John Wayne was also. John Wayne not in the army?
John Wayne dodged it. He was able.
Well, now my entire world is shattered.
Yep.
God damn it. You know who dodged Vietnam to do pornos? Sylvester Stallone. Anyway, we're just gonna leave that one on the table.
So Peter Lorre is apprehended.
There's a point I want to make about Bogart.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had a lot of older men that were still in Hollywood, and if not for this era, I don't think it would be as strong in the American film zeitgeist to have older men with, I want to say like. But much younger women.
She was 24.
She was 24, and he's like 40 something. I think
Something
at
like
this time.
that.
So
in the movie, he's 37, but I think he's a little bit older than that.
He's a little bit older than that, and so I think this era of movies, and Casablanca being like one of the pinnacles of that, being a very good movie. This is where you have the older leading star, younger female.
Also, Humphrey Bogart's wife spent the whole time they were making this movie accusing him of cheating on him.
Well,
with
if
Ingrid
you look
Bergman.
at Ingrid Bergman,
Yeah,
I mean, which anytime she was on screen, I was just like dumbfounded by her beauty.
Was refuted by both of them.
Yeah,
they
I was about
both
to say
died.
none of them.
Now, Lauren Bacall, totally different situation where they both admitted to that one. Right. So yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick, Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart had a tryst while he was married.
Yeah. I think that's true that they didn't have anything because I don't think they really liked each other through this movie. In fact, like
no, they would sit around playing cards with one another, and the line "Here's looking at you, kid," that comes as an ad lib solely from the chemistry that they had between. One
okay,
another.
I was wrong about
No,
that. Sorry.
the gentleman. I just want to get this one out of the way because we made that. But Paul Heinrich, gentleman who plays Victor Laszlo in this, he is the one member of the cast that no one got along with, to the point where Ingrid Bergman called him a prima donna.
Oh,
yeah, and I think he was spinning the whole. It was him and Bergman, I believe, who were actually trying to figure out how to get out of the movie because they wanted to do other things, I think.
Yeah.
But
Bogart, Heinrich said he is a mediocre actor, and that's all I need to say about Paul Heinrich. We can continue with the movie now.
Yeah, I just wanted to get this part because I thought it was like really telling of Rick's character is when Peter Lorre's character is apprehended. Soon, immediately after that happens, or during that actual scene, one other person that Rick knows, maybe one of his patrons, was like, "Gee, I hope you stand up for me a little bit more than you stood up for him."
Well, it's because Ugarte like runs up to him and like grabs him and is like, "Rick, you have to help me." And he was like, the Rick line throughout the first half of the movie is, "I don't stick my neck out for nobody." How was that, Kevin?
Forget Kevin. No.
Yeah, that was
no.
I've done better Bogart
I don't
impressions.
doubt. I don't doubt.
I apologize. I was trying to get one in because I realized that I had been saying his lines in a regular voice, and I wanted to.
Ethan, just to show him up right now, say here, do your Bogart for "Here's Looking at You, Kid."
Oh Jesus, I don't think I want to do that. Yeah.
Under pressure.
Don't put him on pressure. We can wait a little bit. You don't have to go to work yet.
Here's looking at you, kid.
That was way better. That was way better than what Brady did.
I'll admit.
Jesus Christ.
I'll admit.
Okay, continue.
All right, so yeah, that happens, and we have a little bit of character work between everybody that's in the bar.
Yeah, there's another guy, Ferrari, who comes in who owns another bar and keeps asking to buy it. It's obvious that the Blue Parrot is like a lesser bar.
That guy seemed very slimy.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Well,
very slimy.
Yeah, well, yeah, Senor Ferrari. Yeah. Well, also. This is what I love about the filmmaking of this.
Yes.
Cafe Americana, except at night when it's closed, it's bright.
Yeah.
There's energy in the room.
Yes.
There's a thing. You go to Ferrari's club and it's almost completely draped in shadow.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's just those little touches that you don't have to say it. This film speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Rick's place
fantastic.
is like just a high end speakeasy kind of.
It's clear that like this is if you go to Casablanca, this is the place that you go. This is where things go down. Important
Because
things happen here.
gambling is happening.
Yeah, gambling is illegal, but it's happening. People are trying to get in, and like the bouncer would like look at Rick, and Rick would either like nod yes or give him a no, and the guys would be like, "Do you know who I am?" And he was like, "I don't care."
Well, that's one of my favorite things about Ugarte. Like he's arguing with a guy that you can't come in, you can't, and Ugarte just like slides right between the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those little character things.
Yes, so much said.
He just gives
about
he
the
just gives a
place.
look. The matron gives a look at Rick when he's trying to like let somebody in, and Rick's like, "Nope."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Nope." And then the other guy just like weasels his way through.
Yeah.
"Oh, hey, Rick, how's it going?" No problem. He's like, I will speak to somebody about this, or I'll talk to the police or whatever. And it's almost established that Rick's a stern, Like he doesn't take shit from anybody.
Yeah.
And he's not going to help anybody unless it helps him, except for this like scene that happens, with the girl, with
Yeah.
the young girl that
That-
comes up to him.
That I think. Well, that's later on, and that I think shows
That's
the softening.
after.
Yeah.
That's after.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to
that's
me-
right
yeah.
before
That's me.
the big scene.
Yeah, that's as the iceberg's melting. Right now,
Yeah.
he's still frozen.
Yeah, he is the most cynical person on the planet at this time. If there's something in it for me, I will help you. I don't, but I want to keep my head down and I want to run this bar, and whatever goes on in this bar is fine. I don't want any part of it. I don't mingle with the guests.
Right.
I don't take drinks with the guests. That's just not going to happen.
It's also established that he's having a fling with this lady early on as well. And
oh
he's like,
yeah, and he
It's established and then immediately cut
kicks
off.
her
Yeah.
to the fucking
yeah,
curb.
he's like
so hard.
He's
What-
like, I was
He,
like,
he
why don't you
escorts
go
her
home?
out of the cafe
Yeah.
to go to
yeah,
go pick up a taxi.
yeah. Trying to find. Oh yeah, she she asked, "Where were you last night?" And he says, "It's so long ago, I can't remember."
That's
Yeah.
God. I love the dialogue. In
Like
this
he
movie.
just drops this woman like a rock.
Going into this movie, I was not expecting it to be as comical as it is.
Yeah,
It's
like,
fun.
so hard.
This is a fun movie.
he drops her so hard that she later dates a Nazi. Like
Yeah,
that's how hard he drops.
But
this
I like
woman.
that turnaround that she does later that we're going to get to
we'll
as well.
That's a scene. That whole scene.
That scene
I'm
was
definitely-
awesome. I didn't know we were going to have
But like,
that kind of.
Yeah. Oh man. Like it. And then you like get this kind of back and forth with Renault. He comes in. The chemistry between those two is so great.
Right.
There's this is back and forth. Like he knows, like they know each other. Like they
Right.
understand each other, or at least Renault thinks that he understands Rick. Renault is this super corrupt. Renault is one of my favorite characters in here, but he is super slimy
He's
and
very corrupted.
super corrupt.
Yeah.
Like he has little to no morals throughout most of this movie.
I would argue that he has little to no morals because he does not want to stand for that which he is currently uniformed in. Like he's a member of the Vichy French,
Yeah.
and he fucking can't stand it.
Yeah.
So he's going to abuse that as much as he can. Now, I'm not saying he's a rogue with a heart of gold.
Yeah.
He definitely likes the young women.
Yeah, he does some messed up
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
he does some messed up stuff. We'll get into that.
But yeah,
yeah.
he comes in and tells Rick like, "Hey, this guy Victor Laszlo, he's coming, and he's this big resistance fighter guy.
Right.
He cannot leave Casablanca.
Right.
There are these layers of transit are out there somewhere. He's pretty sure that Rick has them right now, but like, he cannot have these layers of transit, and he cannot leave. He needs to stay and basically die in Casablanca."
And soon after all of this character. Go ahead.
Rick bets him, starts out with 20,000 that Laszlo will leave because Laszlo has escaped concentration camps. Like he's been said to have been killed like 5 different times. And he's like, "I bet you that he'll actually make it out." And he says, "How about 20,000 francs?" Because he just had to spend 20,000. Oh, he had to pay out 20,000 at the roulette table. And Renault says, "Make it 10. I'm just a poor corrupt official."
Yes. Yes.
And this 10,000 francs comes up several times during
Right.
the movie.
So after we get through the first I want to say 20-ish minutes of the movie.
Yeah, 15, 20. Yeah.
15, 20 minutes.
It was actually, I looked at it. It was like a good amount of time.
Might have been
before-
30. It might have been 30 minutes.
Which speaks to the movie. You had it at 20. It was actually 30. That time flies.
Yeah, it does.
Because you're having
It
fun the
does.
entire time. You're engaged with all
The
of
movie's
this.
only like an hour and 42 minutes. Like,
Right.
It's and it flies by.
And if you've seen it, or at least have seen like clips of it, you kind of know some of the bigger scenes. So you're just kind of waiting for that to happen. And one of the biggest scenes in the movie, and early on anyway, is this lovely young lady like walks into the bar and sits down next to the piano player.
Yeah.
And-
Well, she comes in with Victor Laszlo as
Right.
well.
And he kind of walks off on his own, and then
He goes to have a conversation with another gentleman at the bar.
I think
Yeah.
the matron maybe.
No, the
it's
guy
not
shows him
No,
a
it's
ring
it's a member of the resistance.
Oh, okay.
that shows him that he's a member of the resistance.
Right.
Also before this, Rick gets kind of grilled by Major Strasser.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a great scene.
Yeah, like he gives him the file that they have on him, and Rick's looking at the file and he goes, "Are my eyes really brown?"
Yeah. It's so
good. He's basically like telling him like, "Hey, this Victor Laszlo guy, don't help him. I know things that you have done." He hints at things that he has done earlier.
I don't stick my neck out for anybody.
And he tell him again.
Particularly the two things. He ran guns in the Ethiopian War, and he ran it on the side against the fascists.
Yeah,
right.
And then in the Spanish Civil War between the Royalists and the fascists, he ran for the Royalists and against the fascists. So
he literally fought in the Spanish Civil War.
It sets up the fact that he's anti-fascist without having to say, "Well, as an anti-fascist
It's
myself,"
not slammed in your face.
He never says that directly.
Right.
Yeah.
So Ingrid,
Ethan, did you have
yeah,
something?
No.
Okay, I was just checking.
So we found out Ingrid Bergman, sits down next to the piano player.
Oh, when she walks in, the piano player looks and then makes this face and then turns around really quickly.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh no,
Something's about to happen." Oh, no.
Shit.
He's like, "Isn't there somewhere you need to be?"
Yeah.
She sits down and they have like a casual conversation. She's like, "Play that song." He's like, "I don't know what song you're talking about."
I have no idea what song you're talking about.
He's
He's like, "Play as time goes by."
I don't remember.
I don't remember how to play it.
And she goes, "Da da 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 da."
Yeah, she hums and he's like, "Okay."
Then just play it, Sam.
Yeah, play it, Sam.
Play it, and he starts playing it, and
misquoted line. She doesn't. She never says "play it again, Sam." She says "play it, Sam. Play as time goes by."
Right.
That's the actual quote, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But,
So for all you Mandela effect folks, that's one for the teleboard.
I also like that Laszlo isn't, when he walks in, like he's not even pretending to not be Victor Laszlo. He's just like,
"Oh, here I am.
I have a table reserved under Victor Laszlo." I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
You would think he's not that good of a resistance fighter.
This is the guy that's escaped death 5 times.
Meanwhile, the guy who's like trying to set him up to meet with the resistance is like, "Hey, do you want to buy it? What, you want to buy a ring? You want to buy a ring?" Shows the symbol real quick. Hopefully nobody notices it. It's like, "I'm Victor Laszlo."
Yeah, I'm Victor Laszlo. Like,
I will definitely.
Renault and Strasser are here, and they see him almost immediately.
Yeah.
Like they are like Renault goes right up to him.
Yeah.
Like he's not hiding at all.
And it's around this time that's when Rick he hears Sam playing as
Well,
time
he
goes
comes
by.
out of the back,
Right.
and then hears him playing, and then stops dead in his tracks.
Well, at first he goes up to Sam and he goes, "I thought I told you never to play that
And then he
song." And then he
stops.
sees Ingrid Bergman.
because Sam pulls his had pulled his piano like right up next to Ilsa. So yeah, he stops. He's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, because Sam like glances over, like it's like, "I'm not in trouble. Check it out over here. Yeah, there's this chick over here. You know."
And then they invite him to.
Well, no, it's not. There's this chick over here.
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
it's
this is
Ilsa.
the chick.
Yeah.
He knows very well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So at this time, Victor is coming back, and Renault is also there, and Victor invites him to sit down for a drink.
Renault's
and
like,
Renault's like,
he never has a drink.
he never sits down for it, and then Rick
Immediately
goes,
sits down.
"Yes, I'll have a drink." Oh, a precedent has been broken.
Reigns, man.
Oh my God, his delivery in every single line is so good.
Bogart is the best, but there are times Reigns takes.
Oh man,
steals some
everybody
scenes of this
is
so
at
much.
the top.
Well, when the Bogart and Bergman are sitting there having a conversation, Claude Rains is like, "You seem like you know each other."
Yeah.
Kind of, like, what's happening here?
Yeah, like he at the end of the little conversation, he offers to pay for the drinks. Oh, another precedent broken. So good.
Again, you say you could call it's like I'm Captain Renault. I'm the world's greatest detective. No, he just picks up on things in the scene, and you realize, oh, this guy actually pays attention.
He's very aware of his
Maybe he's very
surroundings.
good at his job.
He's very aware of.
Yeah,
his
he's good at his
surroundings.
job. He's just kind of a piece of shit.
Right.
So yeah. But yeah, they have a little. I don't think really much is
Not much is said during that
because
conversation.
it's all like subtext. Like you can just see how Rick is
casual.
acting towards Ilsa and Ilsa is acting towards. And this is going to remain through the entire movie. Victor Laszlo is completely oblivious to
100%
to anything that is happening that is not involving the resistance.
Until later on.
Yeah.
When
Well-
there's some things said.
yeah, until he
But-
openly states it.
Except that, like, it had to be said to him before he noticed it.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh,
You could lie to me and it'd be okay. It's pretty much like what it comes down to. But,
yeah."
What a beta cook. Oh.
Yes, Victor Laszlo, the beta cuckiest of beta cucks.
So when is Paris mentioned for the first time?
It's mentioned during this time, I believe.
Yeah. Because we get to the flashback pretty soon after this,
it
right?
goes-
Flashback is the
It
scene
cut-
right
the
after
next
this.
the next scene is also one thing to mention is that when Strasser asks Bogart Rick what his nationality is, he says he's a drunkard, and he proves this by in the next scene. The bar is closed. He is sitting almost fully in shadow.
Oh, yeah.
Also, I want to mention that most of the time when you see Rick, like his face is in shadow, and sometimes, especially at this time, like his face is in shadow. You can see pieces, like little bits of
That's
his
right.
eye.
The bar's closed,
and he is hammered.
He's
Oh my
hammered.
God, he is so hammered.
and then
Sam-
Elsa
Sam-
shows.
and
Sam is
well,
trying to convince him
Oh,
to
yeah.
leave the bar.
Sam
for a
comes in
drive,
and is
go
like, "Hey,
fishing."
let's go out and do something.
You
Let's
should go
get our mind-
home."
Let's go home."
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, it's really weird that he said that because if I'm not mistaken, Rick lives at the bar.
Right.
Let's
but
go for a drive. Let's go fishing.
let's do something. Yeah, let's go fishing.
Anything.
They're in the desert.
Right.
Where are they gonna fish, Sam?
Why did you move to Casablanca, Rick? I was told there was fishing.
Yeah.
I was misinformed.
Isn't this
or
a
something
desert?
like it.
I was misinformed.
Claude
Yeah.
raids. I love it.
So yeah, he is just 3 sheets to the wind.
and then this flashback starts happening.
No. This dame walks
Yeah,
in.
Ilse.
I thought that was before.
Right.
No, she comes in
She
after
comes-
the
She
flashback.
comes in after.
Oh, after the flashback?
What he says is, "Play it, Sam." It's like,
Yeah.
you played it for her.
Play it for me.
If she can take it, I can take it.
Oh, yeah.
And he
And then they go into the flashback.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
which-
That's right.
Another thing that I noticed this time during the flashback, like I said, up until this point, Humphrey Bogart is always somewhere in shadow, even throughout the entire part of the movie. When it gets to the flashback, his face is never in shadow in the flashbacks ever, no matter what. And I thought that was a very interesting decision that they did with this. But yeah, you see Rick and Ilsa flitting around Paris and having fun, and they're taking drives and they're doing dances and they're talking about each other. And she says that, like, she's telling him, like, she mentioned that she wasn't married or something like that, right? Or their husband was,
That her husband was dead.
their husband was dead.
And that's an important point because she can believe that.
Yes.
Like that's not her
Yeah,
telling
it
a lie.
is. It
She
is later
legitimately
revealed
believes
that like she did believe that he was dead
But he's
because he was
like-
in a concentration
Right.
camp, and
Because
she had
he
heard
asks,
that.
Humphrey Bogart asks her, he's like, Rick, he's like, what were you doing last year? And she's like, let's not talk about the
Yeah.
past or something
Yeah.
like that. Something of that
I
nature.
thought we agreed to no questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sam is
That's it.
here. He's constantly playing as time goes by. There's There's two
And-
songs in this movie, and it's
also,
one
again,
as the time
just
goes by.
Little thing, he keeps calling him Mr. Richard.
Yeah.
Like not Rick.
Yeah.
Like this friendship has developed over years.
Yeah.
And you can see like how the way they handle and treat with one another. It just,
Yeah, Rick is before this. Rick is never smiling. He is always super cynical.
Right.
In this, you can see that he is happy.
He's
he is
very
smiling.
happy in
He is
this.
laughing. He's joking with Ilsa. This is where you first hear the line. Here's looking
Here's
at you,
looking
kid.
at you, kid.
But but throughout the flashback, you're constantly hearing somebody's either reading a report or they're announcing it over loudspeakers.
Or they're reading the newspaper.
Or they're reading the newspaper that
Right,
the Germans
the
are coming.
coming
This is
in,
right
yeah.
before the Germans
Right.
sack Paris.
well, to the
Well, it
point.
starts out French. You're hearing it in French that the Germans are coming, and then eventually
You
start hearing it in
German.
German.
Yeah.
So they're close enough to send people to there.
That the one that compelled me though was like the last scene that they're together with. You can hear the shelling in the
Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
The
God,
artillery's
like,
going off.
again, this movie was rushed to production to
Yeah.
get it out, and good God, the things they just kept getting right over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And Ilsa is constantly like saying, "Hey, we need to get out of here because the Germans are coming, and because of your past, You're going to be one of the first ones that they hunt down, which is probably not right. They will probably look for the Jews first. But that's beside the point.
Right.
She's worried about him. She's worried about him. She's worried about him. She's worried about him. And then they finally decide, okay, we're leaving at the last possible second for some reason. I don't know why. We're going to get on this train, right? Train, yeah.
Rick offers to get her at her hotel room, and then Ilsa's like, no, we'll meet at the train station.
Yeah. Ilsa is also acting very weird at this
Very
point.
strange.
Not as high energy as she has been, or positive, I guess.
A little
I don't know.
something off with her.
And then we get to the train station. It's raining. Sam is there with so many bags. He's the poor
All
man.
the luggage.
All the luggage.
Carrying all the luggage in the rain. Help me out with this. Somebody gets a note somehow.
Somebody sends in the note. I don't remember who hands in the note.
I have two favorite scenes, and this is the first one.
Yeah.
But the note gets handed over to Rick, and it's in ink, it's in paper, and he's reading it in the rain.
Yeah.
And they had the wonderful attention to detail. As this is raining, the water's making the ink run, so like the ink is crying. So like it's just adding to the sadness of this.
And also there is an abridged version of As Time Goes By playing instrumentally, but it's different in a little way that's played with like more sharper minor notes as the ink is being washed off the paper.
I'm glad you brought that up. I want to bring it like later on. It's like when we're going like doing an overall on things. That's one of my negatives. Not in this instance, but
you think it hits home on this instance?
No. I think they use it too much.
Yeah,
older movies had that problem.
Let me get this right. As Time Goes By is this very like whimsical, almost madrigal. Here it works perfectly because you're trying to convince this sense of sorrow, loss, and regret.
Yeah.
Because as time goes by, and then in the more triumphant moments, you got as time goes by. It comes to the good times again. My problem is that in suspense moments, they also play it there as well, and I think it's completely not appropriate.
Older movies sometimes had that problem where they had one or two songs that they played absolutely to death. Like High Noon, I fucking love that movie, but the theme song of that movie gets played so much, and it kind of brings some.
I mentioned that
down,
in Psycho, they played like after she dies, when the detectives like going door to door to find out what happened. They keep playing the intro theme.
Yeah, I think that was a problem of some older movies like that. I don't think it super hurts the movie, but it does make it go, okay, I'm tired of hearing As Time Goes By.
But we go from the transition.
Play the other song.
Right.
Play La Marseillaise.
La
Marseillaise a little bit more.
We go from the transition of the ink bleeding through the paper.
And it's her telling him, I can't follow you. I'm sorry. You have to go on. Yeah. I have things that I have to do.
And we go back to the bar, and then she walks in.
Yeah.
She walks in light. But again, like the little touches of this entire bar, he's in darkness, all this, and then when she opens it, and again, this is at night. She should not be lit as brightly as she is if we want to go for realism.
Because the only light we have is searchlights to the outside.
It's really good with a lot of black and white movies is they use that contrast very, very well. That's a lot of people talk down about black and white movies, but that is something that you can get very right. That's very interesting that they use with black and white movies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. But no, she is in light, and then she comes into him to speak with him, and he's gone.
He is not having it.
Yeah,
gone.
he is 3 sheets to the wind and
pissed.
God, he is so much of a dick to her.
Yeah, he's very much a dick to her. She's trying to explain everything that's happening, and he is not having
He shuts her right the fuck down, and she says, okay, well, fuck you, and then leaves. And he continues. I think he passes out at this point, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
He passes out.
Do we go to the marketplace right after that?
We go to
before we go to the marketplace. That scene in the inspector's.
We see,
we see. Oh yeah, because Renault told Laszlo that he had to come check in.
We see
they can't just like arrest him
because they still have to be.
They have to look legitimate.
Well, again, it's the play because this is quote unquote unoccupied France.
Yeah, they have to still put up that they can't just have him arrested for no reason. If this was Nazi France,
they wouldn't have to ask any questions.
Been picked up.
So we see Ilsa and Laszlo going into Renault's office, and Strausser is also there.
Yes.
Keep going.
Being a creepy motherfucker.
Keep going.
If I remember correctly, it's Strausser informing Laszlo that he can't really go anywhere without getting a travel visa.
Yeah.
So he's stuck in Casablanca.
And Renault's the only one who can give him
And then
a
he
travel
goes,
visa.
is he going to be able to get one? And Renault's like, nah.
Nah, ain't gonna happen. Oh, I can't do it, man.
Yeah.
Also,
and that scene ends with him like meeting the next person who's going to get a travel visa.
yeah. Oh, they also, this is where they mentioned that Ugarte has died, and Renault says we haven't decided whether he was killed while he was escaping or he committed suicide. We're still figuring that part out.
Yeah.
That is the most blatant obsequiousness
Yes.
ever.
It is-
Like
he is
100%.
such a piece of shit, but God, he is so fun to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that open corruptness, like you don't see that. Like he is just.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, Claude Rains was the original Invisible Man.
Yeah, I didn't know that
yes.
until today,
Yeah.
and when you said that, like
Yeah.
it blew my mind.
Yeah, go back and watch that one, because if you like Claude Rains' acting, it's well represented in that one as well.
And you don't even see his face most of the time.
Yeah.
What's the line, Jody?
What? Here we go, gathering nuts in May.
No, that's the fun one. It's like
I'm going to kill you, Kent.
oh my god,
Yeah.
I love just the
I'm
amount
going
of
to tear you to pieces.
the amount of energy that this madman has, and just like everything Claude Rains did was amazing.
Yeah, and
So-
then
We're in the
I'm
marketplace.
sorry. Yeah, they go to the marketplace.
Not necessarily. They go to the Blue Parrot.
Oh
to-
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're going somewhere.
Yeah.
They're going to
Forgetting shit.
Ferrari because Ferrari is
Ferrari-
kind of a big dude in the underworld. Like he kind of runs a lot, or at least he says he does. I
The
don't
king
fucking
of the
know.
black market. He
Yeah.
says.
Yeah, I've been shitting on Laszlo for a little bit, but I do want to say that he had one of the better lines in the film when, like I said, you escaped from one of our. You had the honor, like I think Strasser said you had the honor of being in one of our concentration camps, and he says, "Yeah, honor enough for a lifetime."
Yeah.
and then just like that's such a biting
Yeah,
fucking line. I love
The
that.
dude was an asshole, but like the character is good. He's just
Right.
super naive. So yeah,
Very, very.
But he's set up in the beginning as the only noble man in this entire movie. Really,
It's
like
set-
everybody
his moral compass.
Everybody's
is
moral
direct.
compass is quite fucked up.
Very
Either
gray.
you're a Nazi or a corrupt official, or you just don't give a shit anymore. So that's where we're at. He's like the one paragon of virtue, kind of.
And so it goes to Ferrari talking to Elsa and Laszlo about getting a travel visa, but Ferrari saying that he can only get one.
Yeah, he can get one for Ilsa. It's going to be absolutely impossible to get one for Victor.
And so
Victor's telling her like, "Hey, you go."
you go out to the market. Me and Ferrari will
Yeah.
discuss further about this. That's
Is this where the information's also dropped to them that he has the courier papers?
not yet.
Not yet.
No, uh-uh.
Okay, all right.
We then go to the market where Elsa is looking at a piece of fabric. This vendor is saying, "Oh, only 800 francs for you, ma'am." And then Rick walks up and is like, "Oh, a friend of Rick's, 400."
Well, no, hold on. Rick comes up and says, "No, it's a piece of garbage."
Yeah, yeah, nah, it's trash. He goes, "Oh, friend of Rick," and he immediately pulled out like an 800 franc sign, and then friend of Rick, special deal, 400 francs.
And then it drops all the way down
And
to
then
like
they
100
keep-
francs.
Oh, and
They
Instant.
keep talking. They're ignoring this guy. He goes, "Oh, friend of Frank's, 100 francs." Like he just
no,
keeps
extra special friend of Rick's. It just keeps
like
dropping.
he just keeps dropping it the more, and they're completely ignoring it. It is so
Speaking of
fucking
ignoring,
funny.
she's ignoring everything he's saying.
Yeah, because
he was a dick to her.
Because she says like, "Hey, I came last night to like explain things," and he was like, "Well, you can tell me now. I'm reasonably sober."
Yeah.
So they kind of go back and forth.
And this is when it's revealed that as Elsa is walking away, that Laszlo is Elsa's husband, and that he's always been her husband. Even when
Yeah,
they
she
were
tells him
together
like, "Hey,
in France.
we've always even when we were in Paris, I was married to this guy."
but he was in a concentration
Yeah.
camp.
She doesn't tell him that
Not
part,
yet.
but she tells.
Not
I
yet.
think she just kind of wants to twist the knife
Right,
right now because he
right.
was a super dick to her.
Right.
And again, that's so just in almost any other situation, like you think about it, like these reveals would be ridiculous because why wouldn't you just boom, boom? Well, he can't accept it in the start.
Mm-hmm.
And then she doesn't want to reveal more to him other than what will hurt him
Yeah.
at that point. And then when it's back against the wall and they both kind of broken down, that's when we figure out everything.
Yeah. Mhm.
The writing in this is so
It is.
good. It's so good. The best screen. They won for best screenplay
Yeah, and they also won for best picture
and best director.
Yeah, I think it was the American Film Institute. This was like the number 3 script of all time. They had it.
I know at one point
it was the number 3 of somebody who.
I know
who
at one point
scripts.
I think on the AFI 100 Years 100 Movies, I think
Yeah.
it was their number 3 movie of all time at one point. I think it's dropped since then.
Yeah,
The AFI
they've added a lot of things like that. That's changed a couple of times, but yeah, yeah. Like the script is like this. One of the things that I like about this movie is that some movies during this time feel old.
Mm-hmm.
The writing feels old. Like you get the stereotypical way that older people are talking. This doesn't feel like that. Like the writing and the dialogue is so tight and feels
fresh,
modern,
and it just feels like like this. It's not that for me that it feels modern. It's timeless.
Yeah,
It's very fresh.
this brings us to, if I'm not mistaken, probably my favorite sequence in the movie.
Ethan, did you have something?
After Elsa leaves the marketplace, we actually go back to Laszlo and Ferrari.
Oh yeah, and he basically tells him like, "Hey, you're not getting out of here."
And
He's like, you can't stay and you can't leave.
They-
and they're like, what are we going to do?
They essentially, Elsa and Laszlo come to an agreement saying, we'll only take 2 visas, nothing less.
Yeah,
And that's when Ferrari says...
because Victor wants Ilsa to leave. Ilsa won't leave without him because he.
Yeah, they
also,
have this
like, there was a
conversation
time
where she's like, would you leave without me?
Well, there was a time
Right.
where like they were breathing down their necks and she was like sick and he
Right.
did not leave her.
Right.
He stayed and was in way more danger and could have gotten out of France and didn't because she was sick.
Yeah, when he's begging her.
And then he was also sick and she didn't
Yeah.
let him.
Right,
So-
he's begging her.
So it's showing you that like they obviously care for each
Right.
other. Like especially Victor. Like Victor is deeply in love with
Right.
this woman. Like he cares so much about her and she also cares so much about him.
And this is when Ferrari says that the letters of transit are still out.
Yeah, he mentions the letters of transit.
And that he believes that Rick has.
Oh, also, yeah. Rick told her like, "Hey, I'm out here because I'm giving Renault a chance to turn over the cafe to try and find the letters." That's how corrupt everything is. There,
Right.
It's just like I know that they're going to like search my place.
What might as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to let them hear. So yeah, like I said, so this gets to like this whole entire sequence is one of my favorite sequences in the movie. One of my favorite sequences of all time. The whole
You're about
thing.
to maybe list my favorite scene in the movie, but keep going.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So we cut back to Rick's, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is at Rick's.
There's a couple of funny scenes. There's a scene where the German maitre d' guy is talking with this German couple because he's been working with them, teaching them English because they're going to America. They finally got their visas, and at the end, the woman's like, "How much watch?" And the guy says, "Oh, this much watch."
Oh.
Like, "Oh, much watch."
Oh, 11 watch.
11 watch. Oh, much watch. Because she's asking what time it is.
Right.
And the guy's like, "Oh, you guys are going to do fine in America." And it just kind of makes this look.
This is also when we cut back to the pit pocket guy.
Oh, yeah.
It runs into
That
the
was the
matron.
scene we mentioned where he
Yeah,
runs into
yeah.
the Matrix. Like, oh god,
And the
it's
man's just like, "Oh my God."
Yeah,
And, like
oh.
he checks everything.
It's like,
'cause he,
yeah, it gives
'cause he
the-
knows exactly who that guy is.
Also,
Exactly.
before I know where you're going, but before you go there, the French woman that was with Rick earlier,
Yeah. She comes in
with the German.
She comes in arm in arm with a Nazi.
With a
and is
Nazi.
kinda trying to show him off. And like Rick does not give a shit.
and they're
because-
hanging out at the bar.
Because Ilsa is all that he has on his mind right now. He does not care about anybody else. Nobody else exists except Elsa because he's still head over heels with her and is still pissed off about all of that.
And then we also get to this part where the Nazi soldier that she came in with starts having an altercation with a French soldier.
Yeah,
At the
and
bar.
yeah, and
They start getting into a shoving match, and then Rick
Rick
eventually
breaks it
breaks
up.
Rick actually has to physically come in and break it up and say, "Hey, this shit ain't happening here."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Once again, playing neutral.
yeah. Then this is the sequence with the young girl, right?
This is the to me, it's two-parted, broken off, or broken in half by my favorite scene in the movie. But yeah, she comes in and she talks with Rick about, is there any way
this is the girl that we saw earlier in Renault's office.
Yeah. It's like
coming in,
and she asked him, can I trust Captain Renault because like he'll give me the visas, but I have to, I basically have to like be with him.
This movie was made in the Hays Code era, so they couldn't like actually like talk about sex. So they had to imply a lot.
They had to imply like this was
the only way that they got around away with
beyond implying.
Yeah,
like,
the only
heavily
they couldn't say, hey, he wants to have sex with me in order for he wants me to prostitute myself. They couldn't say that much.
Yes.
Can I trust him?
The only way that they got away with Ilsa being with Rick is because later on they explain, like, they wanted to cut that out, but they explained later on that, hey, he was in a concentration camp and I thought he was dead, so so I didn't know. That's the only way that
they weren't promoting
made it
infidelity.
past the censors. The Hays Code was some real bullshit. Look that up.
That's enough for 4 episodes of any other podcast.
Yeah. Kevin, look that up and write a report about it. I had to get another one in.
Write a report.
I love your way of quote unquote getting back at Kevin is to give him fake work he'll never do.
Yeah,
so
it's like Renault and Rick. I play a little game, he plays a little game. We go back and forth. It's fun. Like, not really, actually.
And also, like, so the scene like kind of shows off the desperation of people trying to get out because it's like, it's like my husband, like he might be older than me, but I'm really the older one, and like he would probably never know if I.
He's
if I
over
didn't tell
here.
him.
She also mentions he's over here at the roulette table trying to win.
Another Chekhov's gun that's like almost paid off immediately, and then like all these things, and like so like this, and like you see that he's kind of at his wit's end with all this, and the fact that he's kind of sitting back and not doing anything. So you have what is my favorite scene in the entire movie because it's the point where he's going to break good now. So you have this scene where like these German soldiers and officers start singing
while Rick is in the casino.
Before that happens, he goes to the. I'm pretty sure
he's somewhere else.
He does the roulette table.
This is before
thing.
I thought the roulette table was after.
Well,
I don't think it's broken.
He came in when it was happening.
No. Because they immediately. You remember they immediately shut down everything. So we'll get to that.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, that's
so
true.
he goes to the roulette table, and you see the guy is this young, fresh-faced guy sitting there, and you can tell from his demeanor like he's losing. Bad.
She comes in afterward to basically hug him and thank him for thank you for you rearranged my chronology.
And Rick
perfectly.
like looks at the roulette dealer guy and then leans over to the guy and says, "Have you tried 22?" And the guy goes, I said 22.
And then he bets 22.
And as he's looking at the dealer,
and the dealer gives him a look.
Yeah, and it comes up 22.
And it comes up 22. He's like,
leave it there.
Leave it there.
Leave it
22 again. All right.
22 again.
That's
cash out, never come back.
Cash out and never come back.
And it's like, boom. And then, so then after that, again, now that here's
Renault mentions like, hey, I hope you do that for me, basically.
Yeah. Do that for me at least once.
This is why I love coming here because it's so honest.
Yes, this is great.
He also said, "Why are you messing with my business?"
Yeah, he is also upset because the
girl
Rick has deprived him of a sexual liaison. In order to Rick didn't let this girl prostitute herself for a visa for her and her husband. So he's upset.
But he says he has a blonde waiting in the wings tomorrow. So
so make sure she loses.
Before all this even happened, I forgot this slipped my mind. Laszlo and Elsa came in.
Yes,
Laszlo requested to speak with Rick privately.
Oh yeah.
That's where he was.
Yeah.
And Laszlo's essentially asking, "Hey, I know you have the letters of transit."
Yeah, by this point, everybody fucking knows that he has them.
Except Strasser.
Yeah, except Strasser, which is weird. Like
that gets into my other nitpick of the movie, but I'll get that at the end.
And Rick says, "Yes, I have them." And Laszlo's practically begging, "Can I please have those so me and Elsa can leave?" Rick's
I have important work to do. Like, I think that I can do good. Let me get away from here so I can do what I need to do.
And Rick says, "No."
Not gonna do it.
No.
Not gonna do it.
Laszlo asks,
Fuck you. Fuck your girl.
why not?
You're
And
okay.
Ask your wife.
Ask your wife. That is
Ask
the only-
your
yeah.
ask your
Ask
wife.
your wife, and
That-
then that's the
That
big
is the
line
only
out of
thing
that.
Rick says to Laszlo.
Yeah.
Now they're having this conversation, and as soon as this conversation's over, there's a little ditty being sung
Yeah,
about the Nazis.
Specifically, it's the German national anthem of the
it's
time.
not. It's not.
It's not?
I looked this up.
It's like
It's-
Wehrmacht, like what?
It's not
okay.
Deutschland.
Let me explain this. So the Nazis are playing on the piano and they're singing a song. It was actually like a march song that got popular during World War One. I can't remember what the name. It's something about the Rhine.
I think it's Wehrmacht der Rhine or something.
They
like
couldn't. Yeah, they couldn't. So here's why they wanted to use the German national anthem, but they couldn't because of copyright. It would have been fine if Casablanca was only ever played in allied nations, but they also wanted Casablanca to be played in neutral nations, and there was a possibility that the Nazis would sue them for using that in those neutral nations, and they didn't want to give the Nazis any money.
Okay, then.
The only complaint I
So
have,
they used that. So they used that song instead of the national
So
anthem.
by suing, do you mean they were going to send a detachment of Jagdpanther tanks to blow the place up? Because that's how they sued people back in Nazi times.
Well, also, the Nazis were assholes and litigious, so they probably they didn't want to. They're not going to roll tanks into Switzerland, but they will like sue them, and then the studio would have to pay the Nazis money, and they didn't want to like fund the war. Yeah.
We have an anthem battle in the middle of this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
which again, my favorite scene.
I love it.
This is my favorite scene.
Yes.
Yeah. But this whole sequence is like the best part of the movie.
Yeah,
for me.
it's a good setup.
the only complaint I have about this scene, they took Sam's piano. That is the only thing I will complain.
Well, yeah, because they're Nazis and they just take because they're assholes.
Because they're assholes.
So the
he was
Nazis
just
are playing.
As time goes by, he just want to have fun on the
So,
piano.
well, he didn't want to play that fucking song.
Yeah.
So the Nazis are playing this song, and everybody but the Nazis are super uncomfortable. They are even the woman who was arm in arm with the Nazis. Like they're all giving this look, like what the fuck? I hate this shit.
She was singing with them.
The Nazis?
Yeah.
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 No,
Yeah, she was.
I don't think so.
Because there's a turnaround that happens.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah.
Why would she know German?
She's hanging out with the German. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know.
She's probably drunk.
That's not the point.
Oh, yeah,
So at this point, Laszlo's coming down and he hears that and he's not having this
Nope.
shit. So he walks up to the rest of the band and says, "Play La Marseillaise." And the band looks to Rick, and Rick gives this ever so slow. It's not a subtle nod. Like he nods.
Yeah.
And tells them,
Go ahead.
do it. Fun fact. The scene where they called him back in, they called Bogart back in to shoot this, and they just told him to stand there and nod, and he didn't know what the fuck he was nodding. Because so
Again, I think that makes the scene work better.
yeah. So they start playing the French national anthem, and it just starts out with Laszlo singing and the band playing, and then everybody else in the entire bar.
But then then the Germans hear it and they start singing louder.
They start
And then-
trying to sing
and
louder.
Then more people come in.
Strasser
Yeah.
stands up and he starts like trying
Yeah.
to lead everything.
Yes.
Like, but they get drowned out, and you can see, and you cut to like the girl who was ex girlfriend of Rick's, who was,
And then she's singing the French national
anthem. She's
anthem now.
crying. A lot of the tears in this part were real.
For real. Yeah.
Because they got Jewish German refugees as extras here, because this is during fucking World War II.
Well,
So-
and also French.
and French. There were
French
refugees
nationals, yeah.
as there were World War II European refugees in all throughout that was most of the extras were refugees in this. So like the tears and the emotion in this is
All
real.
Yeah.
Because these people are remembering what the fucking Nazis have taken from them. So yeah, anyway, like the entire bar, like it just gets so loud that you can't hear any part of
All
of
the tensions escalating throughout this.
of the Nazis. So they quit singing.
Yeah.
And most of the Nazis like head out.
Right.
And everybody's like cheering and this is great.
Well, one literally says "Vive la France."
Viva la France.
right.
Yeah, that girl, she
Yeah.
says
Yeah.
Viva la France.
Right.
And
Which, by the
Strasser,
way, they were singing "De Wacht am Rhein," which is
Yeah.
the Watch on the Rhine.
Yeah, I knew it said was something with the Rhine. So Strasser ain't having this shit.
He goes over to
Renault, and he
Renault.
says, "Hey, because Renault
No,
was,
he goes
was kind
like well, he specifically said, "See what one day of Laszlo
Yeah.
being around here is. Shut this thing down.
Yeah.
Find some pretense."
and he was
do
like,
it.
"For what?
Yeah.
Well, find something." So Renault goes up. Oh my god! Renault goes up to Rick. He's like, he announces like, "Hey, I'm shutting everything down."
Well, no, like that
Under order.
the gendarme whistle is like one of like to me that's one of the most iconic sounds in like anything. Like when you hear that whistle, something bad's happening.
Yeah, like he whistles. He says this place is shut down. Then he goes up to Rick.
This is my favorite. These are my favorite lines in the movie. He goes over to Rick and he says,
go.
I'm appalled by the amount of gambling taking
No,
place."
I'm shocked. I say
Yeah.
at the gambling that is happening here.
Yeah, and then the
One of the croupiers.
Well,
they came over to
Renault.
Yeah, I can't remember names.
It's okay,
They
man.
come
we
over to
believe
him
in
and
you.
say, "So here are your winnings." "Oh, thank you,
Oh,
sir."
thank you.
And then
continues to
immediately
blow
like
the whistle.
shoves them any place he can.
That is my favorite three
How
lines.
did Claude Rains not win an Oscar for this? God
Oh
damn
my
it!
god! I would have to look and see who else was up for that, but he deserved it. Like it was so fucking good.
So the bar gets shut down.
Yeah. So the bar gets shut down. We see Rick later running numbers with the German maitre d' guy.
I want to say his name is Sam. I do not remember.
No,
That's the
Sam
piano
is the
player.
piano player. I can't remember.
I can't either because his name wasn't said very many times.
Yeah. And he says, "Hey, we can run for we can be closed for 2 weeks."
2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, and the guy says, "Okay, we'll keep everybody on staff." So this is also showing like Rick takes care of his own at the very least. So yeah, and then at this point, we have Laszlo and Ilsa go back to their room, and then Laszlo immediately leaves to go to a resistance meeting.
There's a meeting between him and the matron and somebody else.
Yeah, and the German maitre d' guy, he goes, he tells Rick like, "Hey, I gotta go." He's like, Rick's like, "Don't tell me where you're going, just go."
Yeah.
Like, I still don't want no part of this.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Ethan has to go. He has to defend the Earth from the Martians. I didn't know he was an XCOM, but there you go. So, Ethan, before you head out, because this is very important, because the impetus of this was top 5 movies of all time you need to watch. This
Yes,
was
it
our
was.
number one. This is what we determined.
Yes.
Was this worthy of being number one?
Absolutely. Like
That's great.
Hell yeah.
I very much like that. As much as I wanted like one of my picks in the number 1 spot, I'm very glad that I was kind of like forced to watch this because
Yeah.
I don't think I would have watched this on my own. Anyway.
That was the point.
That's the entire
that's the big-
point
because,
that I put
because
that on my list.
It kind of hurted you toward this. So like that's one of the main things that I was concerned about is like, did he watch this and does this like? I wouldn't mind it if you had hated it passionately, like you'd had some sort of passion to it.
Yeah.
But what I would have been worried about is just like, it was okay, or is that like, but like this is something like you feel very strongly about.
This is a movie where I was not expecting any comedy in it. I was expecting it to be a more serious movie, talking about the lows of World War II and getting by it. I was very surprised with it, and
That's great.
I very much like knowing that I've seen this movie at least once.
That's good.
This is a piece of Americana. This is a piece of not just American cinema, but of international cinema. And I'm glad that through this you had a chance that you were given the impetus to watch this. And brother, thank you for the thought experiment on this. Now get up because those Martians ain't waiting.
Yeah.
Protect the Earth.
All right, there you go.
Protect the Earth we shall by reviewing the rest of this movie.
Yeah.
Yes, Brady, I've interrupted you. I apologize, sir.
So yeah, Laszlo's going to the meeting, and then Elsa leaves, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we cut to I believe Rick's going back into his room, and Ilsa's there,
Right.
and she finally reveals to him
The whole
thing.
shebang-a-bang.
She says, "I thought he was dead, and then I fell in love with you, and I still think I'm in love with you." But I couldn't, like, I had to go back to him when I found out he was alive because I do care about him, even though I am in love with you. Like but like, I'll, just help him no, she holds a gun to his
Yeah, she's
she
like,
holds a gun to him.
she
It's like,
basically, she's like,
I know you have the
I know you have
letters.
those papers. Please,
Give
please.
us the damn papers.
And he turns around.
This is how far back to the wall she is. Like
Yeah.
He turns around and he turns his back to her while she's crying and pleading. And when he turns back around, she's got the gun pointed at him.
Yeah. And he goes, sure, put me out of my misery. I don't give a shit.
And he
then,
walks in. He
stepped
basically
forward.
he goes. Yeah, he walks into.
He was
her.
like, here, I'll make it easier for you.
Right.
Just shoot me. And then she reveals
She breaks
everything.
down.
She breaks down. Kiss him. It is implied that maybe some things happen. Again, Hays Code. So they couldn't actually say anything or show anything or do anything like that.
Yeah, and then she says the line to paraphrasing here, where she says like, I can't make any decisions about anything that's happening. I need you to make the decision for me and for us.
Yeah.
Basically.
I'm so conflicted that I can't.
Yeah,
I can't
can't leave you. I need you to make the decisions.
And
And he goes, I will, or something,
Yeah.
more prolific than that. But
then we cut to Laszlo and the maitre d' guy.
banged
running.
up a little bit.
They're banged up a little bit. It's implied that like the resistance meeting was raided. They're hiding from the cops and they're running, and they finally get into the bar. And they're downstairs while Rick's upstairs.
Rick walks out of his apartment. Walks out of his office.
Yeah, and he kind of looks and is like, "Hey, Ilsa, you hold on here."
Yeah.
So Rick comes down.
He calls him up. He calls the butler, not butler.
Oh,
but
yeah,
the
he
matron.
calls the butler
He
guy
calls the
up.
matron up, and the matron like walks upstairs, looks into the room, sees that she's in there, and he goes, "Take her home."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Because we don't want her husband finding out that she's up here.
So Rick goes down to talk to Victor, and I believe this is where he asks him how much he basically trying to see like how much he cares about Ilsa.
Yeah, he's feeling out the whole
seeing
situation.
if he would like leave Elsa behind, or how important is she compared to his quote unquote mission, and things like that. And then Renault comes in, right? Yeah. Renault comes in, and I think he arrests Laszlo, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
For some reason, my mind is a little fuzzy about this particular part.
Right. All the specifics.
This is
near the end.
This is getting towards the climax, the finale, but this is also like, as much as there could be a lull in the plot and the action, this is where there's a lull of a plot and the action. I think Rick tells Renault like, "Hey, he's just gonna be out tomorrow. Like, why are you even doing this?" And he's like, "Well, I got to." He starts talking with Renault, and he tells him like, "Hey, I was just up there with Ilsa. I've got the papers. I've got the papers. I'm gonna put my name and Ilsa's name on there, and we're gonna get the fuck out of here.
And you can have
Laszlo." So he talks. So he tells that to Renault, and then he meets with Ilsa and tells her like, "Hey, we're gonna leave. I'm gonna get Victor out of here and get him gone, but then we're gonna go and we're gonna
everything's gonna be
great." So he works with Renault to let Victor out and get rid of all his tails that they have, because there's constantly people tailing Victor. And they meet at the bar, and this is where he pulls the gun on Renault and tells him like, "Hey," he tells him, "Hey, the gun is this gun is aimed at your heart." And Renault goes, "Oh, that's my least vulnerable spot."
Still with the zingers.
Yeah. Even with a gun pointed, he's got these zingers.
Call the airport.
Yeah. So he tells him like, "Hey, call the airport. Tell him that we're coming. Victor's gonna leave. We're gonna leave. Everybody, this is all gonna be good." So he calls him and tells him to get a plane ready. I believe at this time, like, Strasser also picks up on this.
Well, yeah, because Renault calls Strasser.
Oh yeah.
And
because Renault thinks that this is the setup.
Right. So he
tells him to call Strasser, if I'm not mistaken.
He tells him to call the airport, and he calls Strasser, and he talks to Strasser as though he's talking to the airport.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're leaving, in the next few minutes, and blah 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 blah." And Strasser's like, "What? Like, doesn't get it at first.
Yeah.
And then when the phone gets hung up, he jumps up and then arranges.
So they get to the airport, and funny thing is, there's always that rumor that in the great movie ride in Disney World that the plane that you see, because there's this part of the scene of in Casablanca is like in animatronics is there.
Right.
Oh, that's the plane. That's actually the plane. There wasn't a plane. They didn't have that kind of money. It's a cardboard cutout, and they put little people out so they looked smaller than so they looked further away than what they were. The plane is a cardboard cutout. There was never a plane actually there. Every time they cut to it, that's like what's it called? B footage. B footage,
B-roll, yeah.
B-roll, yeah. So yeah.
Well, it's also model work as well.
Yeah, model work.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. This is where they get there. The plane's about to take off. Ilsa, up until this point, thinks she is leaving with Rick.
Yeah.
This is something that I think we take for granted because everybody's been Casablanca has been the cultural zeitgeist for so long that we just kind of know. This was kind of a reveal. Like, we didn't know that this was Rick's plan. The people who were watching this didn't know that this was Rick's plan. So he gets out and tells her like, hey, you're getting on that plane. You're getting on there with Laszlo. I'm staying here. I still love you, and I know you still love me, but it's important that he does his work. He can't do that if you're not around.
It's like it's to my knowledge that the feelings for a couple of people in this world doesn't add up to a hill of beans.
Maybe you'll regret it.
Plane. You get on that plane.
If we get on that plane,
you'll regret it. Maybe not today.
Maybe not tomorrow, but someday
for the rest
soon.
Of your life.
Yeah. He tells Laszlo like, "Hey, yeah, we had a thing. She didn't know that you were alive. I just kind of played like Ilsa is madly falling in love with Rick again, but like he tells Laszlo like, hey, she didn't have anything to do with it. I was just playing her.
Right.
Like,
yeah. And you can see in her face, she knows he's lying to make her look good.
I didn't really care about her. I was just using her. So like, he just lies his ass off and he tells her like, hey, you got to get on that plane.
And then Strasser shows up.
Yeah. She gets on, they're on the
plane when that happens.
And Ilsa are on the plane.
And the last, here's looking at you, kid.
And here's looking at you, kid. Strasser pulls up, drifts into the scene. Is like, hey, call them and stop that plane. And Rick's like, I will shoot you if you try to stop that plane.
Claude Rains is like, he's on that plane.
Yeah, Claude Rains is like, yeah, Victor, he's on that plane.
Yeah.
So he's like, hey, Rick's like, hey, I will shoot you if you try to stop that plane. And what does Strasser do? Strasser tries to stop the plane. He goes to the little phone, tries
and then
to call.
starts drawing his gun. It's too late.
Yeah,
Rick's already got his gun out.
Yeah. So Rick shoots the Nazi. The Nazi dies, and at this time, all of Renault's men show up in like 2 cars.
Right,
and they get out, and they're like, "What happened?" And Renault kind of thinks for a second. He goes, Major Strasser's been shot. Round up all the usual suspects.
Here's where I want to bring up. So the first time Strasser's on scene and meets with Renault,
right?
He goes, it's like we've like one of the things is like we had the murder of the courier. It's like, what have you done? Is that we've rounded up double than the usual suspect.
Yeah,
right. Like he's rounded up more than for this now. He's now just rounding up just the usual suspect, which shows you again the degree of control that's had here, which has basically gone down to you don't control me.
Yeah. So yeah, they get the body up and they take the body away. They take the body off, and Rick and Renault start talking.
Renault's like, "What am I gonna do now?"
Yeah, what am I gonna do now? This is something that again, if you don't understand actually how Vichy France is, like this is a big scene because like. He then he goes to pour himself a glass of water and he looks at it and he sees that it's Vichy water, water that is bottled in Vichy, France.
Yeah.
And he looks just disgusted
and throws it
in the garbage. And he basically says like, hey, so what are we going to do now? And Rick's like,
what do you mean we?
What do we mean we? He's like, well, I still owe you 10,000 francs. So, I mean, we could figure out something. Like, I hear, what do you say? I hear,
I think he wanted to run guns for the resistance and like, things like that. It's like, of course, which ends up with one of, if not the best ending line of any movie. Louis, I believe this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also, since we wrapped up the ending of the movie, that whole last scene, the whole scene where he goes, between me and you, we don't. A couple people in this world don't add up to a hill of beans.
The lives of three people don't add up
to a hill of beans.
In this crazy world.
The whole scene was wrote and shot that day.
Yeah.
Wrote and shot. People didn't know what was happening. Elsa didn't know what was happening.
Oh yeah,
they didn't know what
throughout the movie.
Ingrid Bergman
had no idea.
Play it like you'll end up with either of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, play it either way, because she didn't know through the entire thing whether she ends up with Rick or whether she ends up with
because the writers didn't know.
Now there are, because of course a movie is shot out of order.
Mm-hmm.
They shot that final scene before they shot some other scenes, so she knew for sure by then.
Right.
But there are other scenes where she has no fucking idea, so she just plays it how the fuck ever.
It plays it straight the whole time.
Yeah.
This was a rushed production.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's one of the greatest movies.
Yeah,
of all
it's one of
time.
those things that, like, a troubled, rushed production either makes the worst movie ever or the greatest movie
Well, again,
ever.
it's the notion
Like,
of art through adversity.
I
Like,
think
when
also the high caliber of the actors.
Yeah,
that
the high
we
caliber
had.
of
first
the
rate-
actor.
Yeah, this is a first-rate crew.
Humphrey Bogart wasn't really interested in this movie because he didn't want to play a love thing.
Right.
Like but I think he eventually like came around to it.
And I
warmed up to
think that ending dictates that also.
Yeah.
as well.
There was supposed to be a really weird sequel to this where it's actually talking about Louis and Rick in the Resistance. There was a bunch of like weird shit with it. I'm glad they never made it.
Yeah, it's a good idea not to do that.
Because Lord, that would have been terrible and would have ruined this movie.
I think. Well, yeah. In particular, well, we say that we can like it's.
That's a hyperbole. Like
I throw that in with in the pile with Jodorowsky's Dune. Like it was an idea. Like I would like to see what these two would be capable of if you could keep up that level of writing.
Yeah.
You keep up that level of dialogue, and you keep up that level of chemistry.
From what I heard, it's like it gets really weird and it.
But
it
you
was
have
really
so much lightning
bad.
that was caught in
Yeah.
the bottle with this movie. Jesus
Yeah.
I mean,
Christ.
when you're writing like scene for scene after about halfway through, because the rewrites basically dictated that they had to like start over in the middle of the movie.
Yeah. And then it cuts to black, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
There's no end credits because they did that all in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think, I watched the behind the scenes or the docu series that was on the Blu-ray that Brady lent me.
I'm glad somebody. I was planning on watching it.
I watched it, and there was a thing like Casablanca. Like soon after it came out, was like it got swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Like a lot of movies during the time it was, especially during war times or during the time it was made, it wasn't until much later when it was aired on television in the late 50s, early 60s where it started getting more and more traction.
You say that. So this is a true story. The 1944 Oscars, where he was up for it, and it lost to Paul Lucas for Watch on the Rhine. Who, like, I'm sure at the time it probably was made.
That's another How Green Is My Valley.
Yeah,
thing.
that's also Ingrid Bergman was nominated for best actor. Yeah, she was nominated for best actress, but for Whom the Bell Tolls, not for Casablanca, which came out in the same year. So something to consider there.
Right.
Humphrey Bogart pulls up to the Hollywood Theater. They open up the door. He is immediately rushed by hundreds of fans.
Oh, yeah.
All of them screaming, "Here's looking at you, kid," because they wanted him to win. It's one of the first notions of something like that ever happening.
Fans, yeah.
Before this ever hits a television set,
Right.
Like there was already this just like groundswelling of like, this is, if not the first, to me, the first American great movie.
Oh no, I agree with you.
Which is weird because it takes place in Africa. It involves an American expat, a French gendarme played by a British man, a Nazi played by a German who hates Nazis.
Yeah.
All of these things that are not American, we say, and it's one of the, it's the
Humphrey
great American
Bogart
movie.
and the guy who played Sam were the only American-born people in the entire in the whole entire cast.
From the
and this is Americana in and of itself.
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
yes.
100%. But from
Well, this is a war movie
Right.
that doesn't show war. It shows the the other people who are affected by war.
Right. What I'm saying is that it wasn't an instant classic.
Yeah, it wasn't.
When it came out.
Some of those movies,
it got buried for like after the initial, this is great, this is the best thing we've ever seen. Gone with the Wind came out in like 39 or whatever. 2-3 years later, that was it. Like, it's gone. It's in and out of the mind for a lot of people during that time, especially during wartime. They had a lot of other things to focus on.
They did have other things
for sure. But this is coming from people that were like either involved in it some way or related to other people that were involved in it directly. Like the son of the son of the studio was talking about all these things. It's just like, things get buried after a while. I mean, I came out, this is like not comparison or whatever, but when I was 13, Back to the Future came out in 1985. It was just a movie. It wasn't thought of as any more than what it was when it came out. And I'm not saying they're
not until
the same.
Ready Player One came out.
Wow, God,
really get the acclaim that it deserved.
So now I could tell. Like, I watched you break to pieces. So let's go once around the room. So yeah, like, you've already heard me sing glowingly about it. I've already mentioned my one thing. I think as time goes by, which is as beautiful a song as you're gonna get in this era or in any era.
Yeah,
I think it's overused too much in spots where it shouldn't be used. I think my other part is I like Vaight's performance as Strausser. I don't think he's menacing enough.
That is
true.
The situation.
I can get that.
The situation that they are in is more terrifying than the embodiment of the situation.
And I think that maybe that we see all these performances of people doing Nazis after World War II, and it's the more like hand-wringing evil stuff, and maybe we're used to that,
right?
And it was just a little bit different because this was like during the war.
That's entirely. Yeah, I can get behind that, but just
that's a possibility. I don't know for sure.
To me, he could.
But I can see
even
that
in that era, I think he could have been a bit more menacing. Like, he needs other people to do the work for him, and when he finally has to do the work, he's immediately defeated.
Yeah. I think that actually helps showing. I think the best anti-Nazi movies are when Nazis are buffoonish and ineffectual.
I wouldn't call him buffoonish. Definitely, definitely
not in this movie,
ineffectual.
But buffoonish and or ineffectual.
No,
I was thinking like specifically about something like Jojo Rabbit.
Rick handles him at the club. Laszlo defeats him at the police station. There's never a situation where I believe that the bad guy ever has one up.
There's a conversation he has with Claude Rains' character.
Renault.
Renault. And Renault's telling him, don't underestimate the American. Like, that comes up like during conversation where he's like glassing over like how dumb Rick is or how easily it'll be.
He just thinks he's an American.
And that line is being said to two audiences. It's being said to the character, and it's being said to the audience itself. Which again, there's subtleties in this movie that you just don't appreciate until you see it. But that one of the greatest. Maybe the greatest American movie of all time. It's not in my personal top 5, but if you can't respect the acting, the writing, the pacing, hell, the cinematography, just the way rooms are lit, the way characters are lit, it's not just their acting, it's how they're staged.
Also, another thing that was added to the play was the love triangle was not in the original story.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
So,
okay, I think. Like I said, Casablanca, this movie has been in the cultural zeitgeist for so long. Like, I think like half of the top 10 of like AFI's best quotes from movies is like this movie.
A lot of quotable lines.
Of the 100, because I looked this up, 100 years, 100 quotes. Quotes from this movie appear 6 times, and that doesn't include the lives of 3 people. That one's not on the list.
Yeah.
But of course, Louis, this is the beginning of beautiful friendship. Here's looking at you, kid. All of those lines, like 6 lines. I think Gone with the Wind and one other movie have 3 lines apiece on the list, and there's no other movie that comes close.
Yeah.
No other movie.
That we kind of have seen this movie as kind of, it's an old thing. It's overrated or anything like this. But I very much push against that. This, like we were talking about, like the script is so for being written on the fly. It is amazing because this script is actually so fucking tight.
Well,
And,
they had an army of writers.
the
especially-
dialogue is crisp and
Right.
feels modern. Like people kind of talk like a Quentin Tarantino.
Mhm.
Like
there's really good dialogue.
It's like, and if you don't like that, that's your that's understandable as well. But like it's just it holds up so well, and it's not ever really boring. It's a shorter movie. Like it's not like a super long movie. That's one of the reasons why I chose it. I didn't want to make him watch Citizen Kane, which is like 4 hours long. Good movie, but it's really long. Like it flies by. There's not really any low points. Everybody is at the top of their game. Like every one of the main actors, like even the dude who played Victor Laszlo, like he may have been a dick to everybody, but like he is still like doing exactly what he needs to do. Like this is a movie that I think everybody can see. I think it's an easy watch. It's not like boring. It's not like a chore to watch, because sometimes old movies, if you're not used to them, they can feel like that. And I do not think that this one feels like that.
It's not bound by any genre.
This is even taken into account that I like slower paced movies, and I can watch an older movie and be fine with it and everything. But like, this is a classic for a reason, and I think everybody should watch this. If anything, like I said, it's surprisingly funny. Like it is.
There's a lot
really
of comedy all the
funny
way
movie.
up to the all
When
the
you
way
hear
up
a
to
movie that has Nazis in it, and it's not like Indiana Jones, like you're expecting it to be like almost relentlessly serious. But no, like this movie just plays off.
it's light so much
everything.
Yeah, this
because it's got so many heavy moments in it that balances out. Too.
Yeah, and I think this was made to be a movie that galvanized people. You don't get a movie that is made during a war, about that war. Like nobody. Like nobody was making Vietnam movies during Vietnam.
That's not propaganda.
They were the minute it ended.
Yeah,
that's not propaganda.
Yeah, that's not just straight up
that's
propaganda.
Not like pro war.
Yeah,
like all the the sisters that were in that they sung the Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company B.
Oh yeah,
and all that, like the pro American.
Yeah, well that's just straight up propaganda. This is. A lot of people talk about, like, there's a quote that goes around like all war films are like propaganda, and to an extent this was trying to galvanize people and be like, hey,
right,
Nazis are bad, let's actually fight these people, we're actually doing a good thing,
right.
You don't need to sit on the sidelines, actually get out and fight, because that's what we need you to do.
It wasn't in your face though, like
but it
Yankee
wasn't,
Doodle
but
Dandy.
it wasn't.
If you've ever seen Yankee Doodle Dandy,
it wasn't shit like that. It wasn't, on the other side, Triumph of the Will saying, hey, we're really cool.
Fuck Hitler.
Well, yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, Hitler was a piece of shit. He died like a bitch, which is good.
How was it? How was it, Jody? While pretending to be Eddie Izzard?
he died in a ditch on a fire from petrol.
No, he died in a ditch covered in petrol on fire.
And I think that's funny.
That's funny
because he was a fucking cunt.
Yeah, because that was Eddie Izzard's line on Hitler, which is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's just mentioning that is like a propaganda film, but again, watch Casablanca. I think you will not be disappointed. Yes, it's an older movie. Yes, it does have some sentiments where it overplays some musical cues. I think back in the day, like some of the some of the things that they did with music is they just they found a couple of motifs and they just played them over and over and over.
I don't think I think it's compared to modern standards. I understand where Jay's coming from, but at the time period, I don't think they were overdoing it. I think Casablanca is definitely a classical film that everybody should see at least once for multiple reasons. One, the art of acting, the art of the direction in the film, the set designs are beautiful, including, and also Ingrid Bergman was gorgeous.
Yes.
Every time you saw her face, they had the light, just like when Jay was mentioning, the light was hitting her. It was just she
thought that her left side was her best side. So if you look, like, she's always trying to turn towards her left side.
Of course she did. Like the script writing that they did use, which was probably like 75% of it due to rewrites, was phenomenal. All of the dialogue was eloquently spoken. the movie also isn't, like I said, attached to any sort of like genre. Really, it's just like its own thing. It also stands up the test of time, being timeless for multiple reasons, such as Gone with the Wind doesn't really hold up on multiple reasons.
No.
For things that
Clark Gable's performance does, and that's it.
Clark Gable.
yeah, of course, performance and things like that. But there's so many wrong things.
Like, if not to get into the political
Right,
stuff,
right. No, of course
Vivian
not.
Lee's like wasting away
Mhm.
Southern Belle
Mm-hmm.
didn't do for me then, now,
Right.
or ever.
Right.
Just does but paired against, especially paired against Clark Gable, and just how just commanding he is throughout the entire movie.
For a film, Casablanca, for a film that came out in like between 42 and 43, depending, there weren't retrospectively, like that decade, there's not a lot of like movies that are not involved in the war, really, for the most part. With the exception of the late 40s, when they try to start revisiting the Universal monsters with Abbott and Costello or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think for that decade, it stands out as probably the best movie of that decade.
Oh yeah.
If not one of the best films of all time, just because of like all of the things that they used in that movie were influences for years and still influenced. The all-toured film directors of the 60s and 70s were heavily influenced by all of that. I mean, love triangles were probably a thing here and there, but that trope wasn't used very much at all before Casablanca. I don't think so.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, like after this, like Bogart made the Maltese Falcon. I think he took some pieces of this in that, and
for
it
character
kind of
work.
and it kind of informed his character in that. So yeah.
And then in 1952, he would finally win the Oscar for The African Queen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
That's a good movie.
It's one of those. It's one of those. Like, he's good in The African Queen, but the idea that he didn't win for Casablanca just throws me right off. Like, all to Mr. Lucas, God rest his soul. Like, he probably was actually a very standout performance as well. But like, I don't. Again, up until I looked it up here just to give context to everything, I don't even remember that movie ever being made, or who was, let alone who was in it.
Yeah, it didn't stand up, and that happens a lot with the Oscars. They pick a movie that does not stick around. See Shakespeare in Love.
Ooh,
I like that movie,
that was
but
the same year as Saving Private Ryan.
It beat Saving Private Ryan for Best Picture.
Right. Didn't beat Spielberg for Best Director though.
No, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Jay, tell us about Silence Your Cell Phone. No. Okay.
Give me a different one.
Okay.
Oh, we can do that.
Oh.
Shit.
I don't know. Let's see if we can try.
Ethan, tell me about Silence Your Cell Phones.
Silence Your Cell Phones is brought to you by Kevin Shelton and Joet Hubbard, and they like to review movies and they like to review television shows that you should be watching. They do streaming and in the theater as well. That's Silence Your Cell Phones. Every Wednesday they're doing their YouTube show, and sometimes will appear on all major podcasting avenues.
Ethan's voice has been replaced by a stuffed frog. All right, so
that was not Smooch. This is Smoochie. Smoochie is very high level. Smoochie is that was very low level. That's Ethan Skinner.
Are you gonna cut that?
no.
I'm considering it, but who else is going to do the promo?
I don't know.
Brady, tell us about whiskey and wrestling.
So if you heard him earlier, Michael talking about editing, that podcast that he edits, it's called Whiskey and Wrestling, that he also does with Jason Holder. They talk about wrestling throughout the past week. This last episode, they talked about wrestling from the past like 3 or 4 weeks because they had been on a hiatus.
A much deserved hiatus. You
don't owe us anything. If you want to take a break, that's fine. And then they pair it with a whiskey that they drink. It's an excuse for them to get together and talk about wrestling, which they both love, and also drink. Not enough to get drunk, but enough to like they're sophisticated and shit with it. So yeah, check them out. They're on all the places where you can get podcasts. They're a pretty good podcast. Yeah.
Winter, tell us about Fearology. Winter, who's in our audience, tell us about Fearology, about a podcast that you better be listening to, goddammit.
She's not listening.
At least giving him like downloads.
There you go. At least give him at least download it and play it in the background. Wait, she's moving. Do you want to get on the microphone? No, okay, never mind.
Fearology is a show I edit and sometimes record.
That was a great Winter impersonation you just did.
Once I'm dropping them once a week now, folks.
Yes, he is.
On Monday evenings
shit.
because I have to watch the movie I'm reviewing. If I'm reviewing a movie, then I have to record and then edit. So hopefully before Tuesday, I have them recorded. Last week's episode was Suspiria. I have no idea what the next episode's going to be, but it's going to be dropping on Monday.
Wait, you said horror movies? Mm-hmm. Spice World.
That is a scary movie.
No.
Review Spice
One
World.
of the characters is named Scary Spice. How can you say that's not a scary movie? Also, if he doesn't get the podcast out on time, Kevin, write in and
Gallo's not listening to my fucking podcast.
That is your fucking bit now. That is your fucking bit. It's called passive aggressive.
it's coming to an end. I can feel it wearing thin. But again,
Kevin, get on it. Just get on it.
Yeah, get on it. Keep up with that because Lord knows I'm not.
That's what you need to call it. You need to recommend Kevin something to Kevin, and then just say, "Kevin, get on it."
I think if we want to really make money, we need a Kevin versus Brady show.
Well, we have the off season coming up.
Oh, that's true. So I think that's most of our podcasting. Oh, by the way, Fearology's on does something. It's on Spotify and
it's your podcast.
Yeah,
master businessman.
If Winter had done that, that would be excusable. What the fuck?
It's on Anchor and Spotify, and I'm working on getting it on other places.
A wonderful shout out to Greg Spanier, Cameron Spanier, and the wonderful crew at McNarb Gaming in Goshen, Mississippi for providing us with this wonderful studio space from which we can record podcasts and then present them out to you all, the wonderful passengers. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you,
Greg.
By the time this episode comes out, NarbyCon 6 will be in the books. Next time you hear from us, we will be talking maybe a little bit about our experiences from that con. So hopefully be fun with that. Also, Brady's eternal enemy, Kevin Gallo, a.k.a. RoninRoosta on Twitch, a.k.a. Kevin Gallo on YouTube. Every Tuesday, he and the crew from Silence Your Cell Phones, along with our friends Seth and Gomez, are playing Cyberpunk 2077, or the Poke Roll non-canon Pokemon role-playing game. They alternate every Tuesday. So
if I gave Kevin any thought, he'd probably be my enemy. It's a callback to an earlier.
That's
a Rick. That's a Rick line. It's a Rick line.
My favorite line that I got is it's not for, I can't remember the movie, but it's, if you existed, I would ignore you. Like it's just a great line.
That's a pretty good
but
one.
You don't ignore Kevin. You only just bring him up every other minute.
I know.
I'm just saying. There you go. Kevin versus Brady coming in 2020. I'm giving you enough time. I'm giving you enough time. I'm giving you several 100,000 millennia.
In case we find immortality.
We probably will, and it's going to suck even worse.
Kurtzwell says the singularity should be here by 2065. So any of us are still alive. By then. Either it happens or
Jehovah's Witnesses thought the world was going to end in what 1973.
Well, I mean, if you looked at 1973, they were kind of right.
Wow.
I will say, Brady, that there was a guy that watched an episode of Star Trek in the late 60s and invented automatic opening sliding doors because of that show.
Good on him.
Yeah.
Did he build a fusion?
What does that have to do with Jehovah's Witnesses?
I don't know, but science fiction sometimes
Tune in next time.
No,
don't. We're not going to be working on Jehovah's
Wetware is probably going to happen in a couple of years, though.
There you go.
All right. So
this was.
You see how well it worked for that monkey with the brain chip.
So that worked out really well.
This was our episode 36. Next week is episode 37, the last of season 1 of Travelers on the Omnibus. It is going to be our Omni Awards. We are going to be giving out awards. We're going to just basically amongst ourselves, we're going to be picking out categories, and we're going to be giving winners much the way the Oscars do, except that our rewards mean more to the children of today than the Oscars do.
That's a fair point.
That is a very fair point. So, so ladies and gentlemen, next week is going to be the Omni Awards, and I think this is a good one. The captain of the Omnibus.
For Ethan
Please.
Skinner, I've been Jody Kite.
For Brady Davis, I've been James McCarthy.
For James McCarthy, I've been Brady Davis.
For Ethan Skinner, I've been everybody.
Damn it.
Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.
God